Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kakashi trains Naruto instead of Sasuke during the Chunin exam part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Sorry Naruto. I can't be much help to you this month. I need to concentrate solely on Sasuke. But sensei. No Naruto. You shouldn't worry about anything other than mastering the basics. Work from there. Your chakra control still needs work and your taijutsu, while unique, still has no substance. Until you improve in those areas, I think it's better that I focus all of my energy to Sasuke. A scowl immediately came onto the face of 13-year-old Naruto Uzumaki. Rightfully so, in the blonde boy's book. He was getting nowhere with convincing his teacher, Kakashi Haddock, to help him get stronger over the Chunin exams. He knew his odds, and despite how silly he acted sometimes, he knew Neji's abilities were higher than his own. His taijutsu was impressive, he was agile and light-footed, and he fought smart even if he was brutal at the same time. He hated to admit that such a bastard Neji had skills that potentially could beat his, but it was true. Naruto had people harp on his abilities for years. Being on Team Kakashi made the meager level of his abilities come to light even more, and he would be the first to admit that he wasn't as godlike as he thought he was in the academy. He came off that high horse when he fought Zabuza and Haku. This recent fight with the Snake Man from the second part of the exams in the forest merely cemented that fact. He needed to improve greatly. He couldn't get over the fact that he was completely beaten by Orochimaru, even under the terrible power of the Kickbi, the power he once called upon to kick Haku's ass. It didn't even matter that he had the demon strength. Without any sort of control over it, Orochimaru threw him away like a rag doll, messed with his chakra somehow with a technique, and marked Sasuke with a terrible seal on his neck. A thing that almost killed him. Orochimaru, for what it was worth, could have killed his entire team with just looking at them. Naruto hated that feeling. The feeling of helplessness. He couldn't help but to blame himself for what happened back there. If he had stronger, if he applied himself more before in the academy or in training, none of this would have happened. After his encounter with Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, he realized there were plenty of shinobi out there who could easily beat him. He had a lot to learn, but that didn't seem too daunting of a task to him. He wanted to learn, he wanted to be stronger, not only because of his dream to one day serve as Hokage for his nation, but to protect the people that he cared about. Which is why he was getting increasingly annoyed by Kakashi's refusal to train him. Sure, he asked Kakashi at times when he could admit was inappropriate. Begging Kakashi for training every morning before the exams hadn't been fair, and he wasn't thinking about his teammates before. They needed training too. Who was he to ask for individual training with a man he only knew for a few months now? Now, however, it couldn't be any more appropriate. He was matched up with an opponent that, if he wasn't careful in his upcoming fight with him, could kick his ass. An opponent who was willing to kill one of his peers and would have if nobody hadn't stepped in time to stop it. This match also was something that could either inflate his ego or be a massive blow to his pride. Naruto could not lose. Not when he promised the shy girl from before to avenge her. He needed to teach that son of bitch Neji that he couldn't hurt his cousin, even if he and her sides of the family had some type of beef with each other. Hinata was a nice girl. A little weird, sure, but she didn't deserve that beating that Neji gave her in the preliminaries. So he needed help, and he was reaching out to the only man he knew that could help him. So, he had to act civil. Naruto, instead of screaming because it would only make Kakashi ignore him further, took a deep breath and calmed down before he thought of a good rebuttal for Kakashi. Sensei, I'll admit it. I need help. With a lot of stuff. Yeah, my chakra control is lacking, and my taijutsu isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I'm asking for your help. I'm not asking for you to completely indulge your time into me. I get it, Sasuke needs help, especially against his opponent, but did you stop to think about me too? Naruto put a hand on his chest, adding effect to his words. I only have the Kage Bunshin. I don't have any other ninjutsu other than the academy techniques. That's it. I need help, damn it. I'm admitting my faults, so why can't you help me? Unknown to Naruto, Kakashi understood his student's reasoning for asking him to train him for the month before the finals. He did. Naruto had been right to come out and say his faults to him, but the simple fact was to him that Naruto had said it too late. If Naruto admitted to his faults before, maybe he could have set some type of training with him. Maybe he could have made himself available to both Sasuke and Naruto, but he couldn't. Not now. It wasn't entirely Naruto's fault, not by a long shot. However, Sasuke needed someone to help him out with the cursed seal Orochimaru placed on him. Other than Jiraiya and the Hokage himself, Kakashi was the only available one to help combat against Orochimaru's Ninjutsu. He was also the only one in this entire village that could help Sasuke develop his Sharingan along as well. No one else. He was the best teacher right now for Sasuke, and he knew it was unfair to Naruto. It was unfair because Naruto knew nothing. Other than the Kage Bunshin, what else did he have? Unlike Sasuke, Naruto didn't have much access to ninjutsu because he had no inheritance at all. Nobody to leave him scrolls of ninjutsu he could work with. Kakashi was Naruto's really only help, but the gray-haired Chunin couldn't help him. Not now. He felt bad, he really did, but it had to be done. For the god's sake, Sasuke was fighting someone who would have no qualms on killing him, and he needed to get Sasuke in shape. Sasuke would already be a task. Plus, he had to keep tabs on Sasuke's emotional health, and lately, it's been shot to shit with that cursed seal screwing with his mind. That promise of dark power was seductive, and every time Sasuke tapped into his chakra, Kakashi would have to worry about Orochimaru tempting him. Naruto meant well, but he had been a problem. Naruto would take much longer to help, and a month wouldn't help him, not by a long shot. For now, all Naruto could do really is to just work on his basics and hope for the best. Naruto, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm going to be blunt with you, Naruto. Your skills are subpar, and right now, you're at a point where you're grossly underpowered. Kakashi felt like an ass telling Naruto that, but to him, that was the truth. Naruto's face immediately lit up with two things Kakashi predicted he would see. Anger and disappointment. He was half pissed at the older man and half disappointed with him. Under all of that, he saw a small spark of underlying contempt as well. It had been a brief second of seeing it, but Kakashi saw it. He wasn't blaming the boy at all. He would probably be the same if Minato-sensei had done the same to him when he was a genin. However, Kakashi wouldn't leave without telling him some advice. But you don't need incredible skills to win in the exams. Wait, what? Naruto's expression bloomed with confusion. How can I win the Chunin exams without having ninjutsu? What is the point of these exams, Naruto? Kakashi immediately stopped Naruto from blurting out an answer. Think about it for a second. Heck, you can take the rest of the month and think it over. What's the point of asking me that question if you want me to think about it all the way to next month? How can I win the exams thinking about a question? Naruto's brow furrowed in annoyance, trying his best to find the truth. After a minute thinking about an answer to Kakashi's riddle, he threw his hands in frustration. Arg. Forget it, I'm done asking you anything. You're not going to help, so I guess I'll figure it out on myself. You will. You're not as stupid as people say you are, Naruto. If you think it over a little instead of jumping to conclusions, you'll get it. Kakashi put an encouraging smile on his face, under the mask. Now, I actually do have someone that can help you for the remainder of the month. Someone that can help you go over the basics. Naruto still didn't see how learning how to do the basics better was going to help him beat Neji, an advanced genin with the ability to beat anyone in the tournament. Nonetheless, the blonde nodded solemnly. Further arguing with a man would do more damage than it could help. Alright then. No more arguing or asking me who you'll be getting. The gray-haired ninja asked, unable to hide the confusion in his voice. Naruto did an uncharacteristically deep sigh. Then, the boy shrugged and sent his teacher a flat look. I don't really care anymore. Kakashi sent Naruto a worried look. Obviously, the blonde was hurt, but he wasn't showing it. He's suppressing his feelings. I know I pissed him off. Big time. He knew he would have to make it up to Naruto, so he smiled again to the boy. I promise to show you a few techniques that can help you later on in the future. That's why I need you to go over the basics, Naruto. They help build up a good foundation. Naruto nodded again, though it was without any real vigor. Yes, sensei. That tone again. Kakashi knew that he really had to make up to the boy. Perhaps if Naruto got better chakra control over the month, he would help go over nature transformation with him and his team. Naruto was a lover of ninjutsu techniques. He was sure he would enjoy learning his elemental affinity. Cheer up, kid. Kakashi ruffled his student's yellow hair with his gloved hand. Trust me, this is for the best. Now, this person I have in mind to help you for the month has much more experience as teacher than I am. He's trained a whole slew of students before I accepted the position of Chunin sensei. Really? Naruto had to raise his eyebrow at that. Who did you have in mind? Come with me and find out. Kakashi waved at Naruto, gesturing the blonde to follow him. Naruto did a small shrug and followed Kakashi into the hallway of the tower where him and the survivors of the preliminaries fought. Here he is. Kakashi gestured his hand forward to point at Naruto's temporary teacher for the month. Naruto rose his eyebrow, his face staring at a man with a standard navy blue long-sleeve shirt that he's seen several Konoha shinobi on the ranked Chunin or Chunin have on. He had a blue bandana like Hittite on his head, black shades, and a polite smile on his face. Hello, Naruto. Naruto immediately recognized this man and couldn't help but to scowl. This, Kakashi-sensei. This is the person you got me? Ebisu and Naruto had history with each other. The first time he met the older man was when he met Konohamaru, spent an afternoon with him, and taught him the basics of the Henge no Jutsu and the Warik no Jutsu as well. Ebisu had been one of the many adults back in the village who only looked at Naruto as if he was just a kickbee and nothing else. Not only that, but he only viewed Konohamaru as the grandson of the Sandaime and nothing else. Only calling him honorable grandson and nothing else. He only saw them as those titles and not as individuals. He was someone Naruto wouldn't even want to associate with. Despite being lauded as some sort of super teacher by Kakashi-sensei, it didn't change the fact that Ebisu was a narrow-minded man. Is there something wrong with Ebisu, Naruto? Kakashi calmly asked, pulling out his signature Icha book. You damn Skippy. I met this guy before. Naruto pointed to Ebisu indignantly. This guy is a total loser. He fell completely for my H-Remyu no Jutsu. Kakashi narrowed his eyes in confusion at the other man, who was starting to look panicked. What's the H-Remyu no Jutsu? Ebisu laughed it off, rubbing his shoulder nervously. Just a silly technique. Ahahaha. Naruto-kun. Ebisu turned to face the boy. If you're quiet, I'll teach you a jutsu. Whatever. Naruto muttered, still irritated. It was too late to bother arguing anyway. He was not going to get his way, so he had to accept his fate. Whatever the man would teach him, he would take, and that's it. After that, he wouldn't need his help. If it was really just the basics they were going to teach him, the fight against Neji would be 10 times harder. Let's just get this done. I'll catch up to you guys later. Kakashi waved his hand at the two ninjas. Good luck Naruto, and think about my question. He then disappeared in a cloud of smoke, the technique Naruto recognized as the Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto harumphed stupid Kakashi-sensei. He then glared at his newer teacher. So, are we going to learn something or what? An eyebrow was visible from Ebisu's face. Is there something wrong with you and Kakashi-kun, Naruto-kun? The yellow-haired boy shrugged. Nothing much. Just Kakashi-sensei decided to ditch me for Sasuke. Ditch you? You know, focus on training Sasuke for a month and not spare me a bit of his time to teach me too. Naruto explained. Maybe he is doing it for the right reason, Naruto-kun. Naruto scoffed. What the hell could be the reason? Ebisu put a finger on his chin. Well, Sasuke-kun is the last Uchiha of Konohagakure, a wielder of the Ninjutsu Sharingan, and needs someone to help him with it. Since your sensei is the only one in the village who also has the Sharingan, Kakashi is the only one suited for such a job. Therefore, he needs to tutor Sasuke for the month. Naruto could understand that. He really did. However, his anger was getting the best of him again. Yeah, but why couldn't he also help me too? He's the laziest teacher I ever known. He hasn't really taught my team anything. No ninjutsu, no taijutsu or jinjutsu. Nothing. All we learned from him are the foundations of good teamwork and chakra control. I mean, that's good stuff and all, but knowing how to work together as a team isn't going to help me defeat Neji. The old man sent Naruto an understanding gaze. You think your sensei is favoring Sasuke over you, Naruto nodded. But you could not be any further from the truth. What do you mean? Ebisu shook his head. Kakashi does not favor Sasuke over you or your other teammate. He is simply looking after him. For what? Sasuke team can take care of himself. Naruto snorted, with a frown on his face. You're incorrect yet again. Sasuke needs help. More help than you. The Juinjutsu he received from Orochimaru could possibly mess with his mind, Naruto-kun. Kakashi-kun needs to pay close attention to him. Not to mention the newer influx of power could possibly bring Sasuke over to Orochimaru's side, Ebisu said in his head with a bead of sweat appearing on his cheek. Orochimaru is after him. That is why he placed the seal on Sasuke. He wants him. But why? Why Sasuke? He's just an ordinary ninja, was Naruto's rebuttal. The older man however shook his head. He is a symbol. The last of the Uchiha, the last of the Sharingan users, and the only one who is vulnerable. There are 2 other users of the Sharingan. Someone who is not an Uchiha and one is a missing nin traitor and mass murderer. However, both are dangerous shinobi. Sasuke is a growing ninja. You may think he's safe inside the village, and he was for the past 12 years, but these exams showed how easily Orochimaru could infiltrate this village. Sasuke is no longer safe now that he's been bitten. He is also Orochimaru's key to the ninjutsu. Ebisu reasoned, readjusting his black specks on the bridge of his nose. It was a habit he had picked up a long time when perturbed. Orochimaru could not get Sasuke. That would be bad news. Naruto took a few seconds to digest the information before nodding begrudgingly. It made sense, and he admitted that it was a large part of him that was annoyed by Kakashi because the Chunin never even gave him or Sakura any sort of second glance. Instead, he was always paying attention to what Sasuke was doing. Even before the Chunin exams. He couldn't lie and say it wasn't out of some level of envy, but it was also, to him, very wrong for a teacher to favor any of his students. Not when the students were grossly underpowered as Kakashi put it. If anything, he should have been helping them out even more. In the end, Naruto agreed with Ebisu's logic. He didn't like it and it hardly made him feel better, but he understood what his Chunin sensei was doing. He just wished Kakashi sensei paid attention to them before. Maybe if he actually did train them right after the mission to Nami no Kuni, he wouldn't feel so weak and helpless. Maybe he wouldn't have Ebisu of all people training him for the month, but he couldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Kakashi did leave him Ebisu, despite being the very same man who fell for one of his weakest moves in his arsenal. The man was a Takebetsu Chunin, right? That had to count for something. He, at least, could respect the title. Hey, Ebisu-sensei, Naruto appropriately called the man, since the man would be tutoring him for the next month. What do you plan to teach me for the month? What do you think you need help with, Naruto-kun? The man asked him. The tone seemed genuinely curious and wondering. Naruto found this strange. Not many teachers would ask him that. He knew how Ebisu acted towards him as well. He treated him like he was crap. The fact that he was gentle with Naruto didn't quite make sense, but in the end, he didn't think about it too much. Instinctively, Naruto almost shouted out, "Baddest ninjutsu." But he knew he had to think realistically here. Naruto thought it over and put a finger on his chin. He found an answer after thinking it over. I guess I need help with my chakra control. Kakashi-sensei always tells me that's one of the biggest things I need help with. I think I need some ninjutsu as well. Something offensive and can defeat Neji in the next round. Anything else that could help me? Ebisu nodded, accepting the answer. I plan to first work on helping you gain better chakra control before starting on anything else. Kakashi-kun stated you needed help with your control, and you basically confirmed it. Naruto nodded, looking somewhat crestfallen. However, should you prove to get past chakra control, I suppose we can work on you learning one or two ninjutsu over the break. Naruto grinned widely, getting excited. Alright. Let's get to it. Ebisu nodded, follow me. We're going to go to a place where we can work on your chakra control. I assume you know the tree climbing exercise. Yeah. I mastered that way back. Very good. That makes this much easier. We will work on walking on water. Walking on water? Naruto quirked his eyebrow as they started walking out the building of the central tower of the Forest of Death. Is that the next chakra control exercise? Yes, it is. I'll explain more. Right now, we are going back to the village. Ebisu stared at Naruto for hours as they worked on the basics of the water walking exercise. Unlike before when he met the boy, where he was loud and boisterous, this Naruto he was looking over was focused and serious. He worked at his task for an hour, in silence, only asking if he was doing it right or wrong. Sometimes, he asked for advice, but otherwise he worked at it alone, without Ebisu saying much. Naruto has potential, Ebisu started to reason in his head. He taught Konohamaru, his current charge, how to use the Henge no Jutsu, a technique he was struggling to grasp in school. Despite showing him such an uncouth technique, something the blonde boy dubbed as the Warak no Jutsu, the Uzumaki showed the younger Sarutobi how to use the Henge in order to use his perverse variation. Something good came out of it. Reviewing that unpleasant memory, Ebisu seen something. Naruto was an innovator. Off of both the transformation and the shadow clone techniques, he created a technique that was effective against certain opponents. Heck, it was effective against him. Despite it being only a distraction technique, the harem no Jutsu was still a sign that Naruto did have potential. He spent hours devising such a technique. He had the chakra to do so, and the imagination as well. If he focused and put his mind to it, he could accomplish a lot. Something like that couldn't be ignored, even to someone like him. Soon, Ebisu started thinking that training Naruto for the Chunin exams wouldn't be such a chore. Naruto arduously worked at the water surface walking exercise for hours, but did not move past standing on the surface shakily before falling in a minute later. Arg. Why can't I do it? I'm doing what you're telling me. I'm trying to change my chakra flow constantly over the water, but it isn't working. Naruto growled, climbing out the stream of water they worked on in the village. Ebisu noticed it as well. He didn't not understand why Naruto was falling in. He was doing the technique properly from what he's seen. He frowned and thought it over for a minute. Naruto-kun, are you still suffering from your battle with Kiba in Iruka? Naruto shook his head, Kiba did nothing too bad to me. Not to my chakra anyway. Although, Naruto frowned, replaying a memory in his head. I did have a run-in with that snake bastard in the Forest of Death before. Snake bastard? Orochimaru, I presume. How amusing of a nickname. Ebisu thought dryly in his head before his eyes widened widely behind his glasses in realization. Wait. Is it possible that Orochimaru did something to him in the Forest of Death to cause his chakra control to have complications? Did Orochimaru do something to you, anything at all? Yeah. He did some weird technique on me. He called it the Gajimfukin, and he used it to knock me out. Naruto, let me see your stomach. I need to see something. Ebisu said seriously, immediately recognizing the name of the technique. Naruto looked at him queerly. Why do you need to see my stomach? The hell? That's weird, man. I need to see your seal on your stomach. Ebisu said in a hushed tone, rolling his eyes at the teen's suggestion. Naruto looked at him again like he said something very odd, but he obeyed. He took off his already wet t-shirt and allowed the man to see his torso. "Now, draw some chakra so your seal can reveal itself." Naruto nodded, clapped his hands and drew some chakra forth. It was somewhat hard molding chakra to do it, but he accomplished it. While Ebisu was not a master of Genjutsu, he had at least known enough to recognize how the Yondaime seal looked like. He also knew that the name and purpose of Orochimaru's technique. Naruto's seal, the Haki no Fukin Shiki, was there but was surrounded with 5 weird kanji symbols. Metal, wood, fire, water and earth, the purple kanji are red. As Naruto channeled chakra, they glowed brightly, a sign the boy's chakra and the symbols were connected together. He must have tampered with your chakra control. With that seal, a normal person could barely channel their chakra. I am surprised you even have enough chakra to keep going. We have been practicing this exercise for hours. How could something go unsaid? Did the boy not feel something weird with chakra? How could he have not known? Still, was this entirely his fault? Didn't anyone check on him, like his teacher, or was the attention only given to Sasuke and his seal? This sealing technique was made to seal away chakra and even seal away the Kikbi's chakra away, he was betting, or else, why would this seal be placed directly on Naruto's navel? Orochimaru truly was a scary individual. Ebisu shook his head in annoyance. "Naruto, we are going to stop training for a while." Naruto looked nervous, his eyes panicking silently. "Am I in some sort of trouble?" "No. You are going to be fine." The man in blue sighed. "Just be relieved we figured out that something was wrong with your chakra in the first place. If left unchecked, this seal could have potentially killed you." Naruto gulped. What the hell did that snake shithead do to him? How are we going to get the seal off? "Can you do it, Ebisu-sensei?" Ebisu shook his head. "Unfortunately, my knowledge of sealing techniques is limited, Naruto-kun. However, we shall take this to the Sandaime Hokage. His knowledge of Genjutsu can solve this problem." "Alright," Naruto said and grabbed for his damp black t-shirt but did not put it back on. He opted to instead put on his drier jacket. "It is good that you came to find me, Ebisu-kun." The old man smiled in his office suite, inspecting Naruto's seal with a shrewd eye. "Ah yes. A classical application of the Gajim Fukin. A technique I used many times in the First Shinobi World War and a technique I taught all 3 of my students. This is definitely the work of Orochimaru. Luckily, I can unseal your chakra and undo the damage." "Really?" "Yes. Thanks, old man." Naruto grinned, happy that he can get back to his training soon. The Sandaime nodded and applied the lightest amount of chakra to his fingertips, his fingers glowing blue with chakra. Ebisu paid attention to it, looking at the similar kanji that lit up in his fingers. "This is the Gajim Kane. The counterpart technique to the Fukinjutsu placed on you before by my student. This will allow you to access your chakra once again easily. Hold still so I can apply it." "Got you?" Naruto said with a boisterous grin, but unfortunately was not prepared for Sarutobi's strong strike to his stomach. He groaned loudly as the old man slammed his fingertips into his stomach and almost fell back if it wasn't for Ebisu. The older man caught him, holding Naruto firmly by the arms. "Holy crap, what was that?" The Hokage almost looked sheepish. "I am sorry, Naruto-kun. It seems I underestimated my own strength. Still, it was necessary. Now you can continue training in peace." The old man sat down back in his chair. He sent a slight nod towards them and said, "If there isn't anything else, I bid you farewell." "Thank you, Hokage-sama," Ebisu said with a smile and bowed to his leader. Naruto sent a small nod towards the Sandaime as his thanks. Naruto pumped his arm happily and was about to leave the room as Ebisu started to walk towards the door. Naruto then stopped and looked back towards his grandfatherly figure. "Hey, Sarutobi Jiji. Do you know the point of the Chunin exams?" Sarutobi raised his eyebrow, surprised at the question. "Why are you asking?" "Because of Kakashi-sensei." Naruto frowned at the mention of his teacher. "I asked him for training for the exams, but he told me that I didn't need to know a whole bunch of techniques to win. He told me to think it over the break and then answer him." Ebisu sent Naruto a glance. "So, that's why he's been quiet today. He's been trying to find the answer to Kakashi's question." The Hokage knew the answer and he knew why Kakashi had asked Naruto the question. It would get Naruto to think carefully if he thought about it to himself. "Your teacher has given you the question for you to solve, Naruto-kun. I cannot, with good conscience, completely give you the answer to your question. However," Sarutobi's eyes twinkled with some mirth. "I can give you some words of advice. The exams are more than being a tournament of fighting. Well, you can win the whole tournament, that doesn't guarantee you a promotion to Chunin. How can that be though? If you can beat everybody in the tournament, how can you not be Chunin material?" Naruto's frown gotten deeper, trying to figure out the answer. "Just because you have the fighting skills of a Chunin doesn't mean you actually deserve becoming a Chunin," came from Ebisu, who stepped into the chat again. "Everybody has the potential to become a Chunin in the exams, but that doesn't mean they all can become one. The exams are much more than fighting. In order to become a Chunin, you must act like one and think like one. Thus, you must know what it is to be Chunin. Sometimes, there's more than one way than surviving a fight. Naruto frowned, wanting nothing more than to throw his hands up in frustration. This isn't really advice, it's more like a riddle than advice. Like all that underneath crap that Kakashi-sensei spews. The Hokage chuckled at Naruto's unabashed attitude. It is because it is a good quote, my boy. Look underneath the underneath. Sometimes, something that seems like it only has one purpose, serves many. You have plenty of time to figure it out. Sleep it over, come back to it after a few days. Sarutobi then took a puff from his pipe. But I know you, Naruto. You will not sleep until you think you have it figured out. I have no doubt you will have figured out soon enough. Naruto beamed at his grandfatherly figure and uncharacteristically bowed deeply. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi was surprised, but smiled nevertheless, got up from his chair again, and ruffled Naruto's blonde hair. You are welcome. You are also welcome to ask me about anything anytime, boy. Heh. I will. Well, Ebisu-sensei, Naruto turned to the blue-wearing Takabetsu Chunin with his black shades. Let's continue training. Ebisu smiled, well, I admire your exuberance, Naruto-kun. I have decided that we are going to take a break for the rest of today. It has been a long day and you just came from the tournament. We will begin again tomorrow when you are fresh and anew. Naruto pouted, but he understood. Okay, Ebisu-sensei. If I may, I would like to have a word with you, Ebisu-kun. The Hokage said, now settled firmly in his seat again. Ebisu nodded. Yes, my lord. Naruto-kun, I will see you tomorrow. Sure thing. And the blonde left. So, how do you evaluate Naruto so far, Ebisu-kun? In my humble opinion, I think Naruto-kun has to shape up fast, or else he will not be able to defeat Neji Hyuga in the Chunin exams, much less be considered a Chunin. Ebisu pronounced, trying to be as blunt as he could, without showing any ill intent of the boy's skills. I suspect now that his chakra is not restricted, he will be able to easily do the water walking exercise, but other than chakra control exercises and the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto-kun doesn't have a lot to work with. Ah, but you are wrong in that sense, my boy. He does have a lot to work with, preferably with the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. After all, despite Naruto-kun having the technique for months in his possession, he has yet to figure out that his clones can be used more than fighting tools. Ebisu's eyes widened in realization. Are you suggesting I should tell him about the secret of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu? Is that not a little dangerous? Most ninja cannot even exploit it. And why not? Sarutobi snorted, putting his pipe in his mouth again, before taking a small puff from it. Smoke billowed out of his mouth as he exhaled. It is a wonder how Naruto-kun has not figured out that he can receive memories and experience from his dispelled clones yet, or why Kakashi has not told him the secret of Naruto's most used technique. With him knowing that, his training can be increased exponentially. It is also perfect since Naruto has extremely huge amounts of chakra for his age. The danger is extremely cut down. Do you know how much clones the boy can make on a whim? Several hundreds, and even then, these clones still have a decent amount of chakra to use. I believe by the time of the exams, he will be more than ready for his opponent. Sarutobi smiled at Ebisu, putting his pipe on his table. Originally, I was going to have someone else take over. However, due to him not seeking out Naruto like I wanted and getting sidetracked by his own activities, I think you can take over for him for the month. He can see to Naruto after the exams. With you as Naruto's teacher, he'll be more than ready. I am counting on you to shape him up quickly. Ebisu nodded, also thinking to himself how many things he could teach the boy. He could review for a few days on chakra control, then move on with elemental training, something that could take years, could be condensed to a matter of weeks. Finally, he could help him out a little on Taijutsu, though it would not be a big focus, because learning a fighting style or improving on Taijutsu took months that Naruto did not have. Besides, Neji already had superior Taijutsu thanks to years of training. Focusing on teaching Naruto anything like that was pointless. And he knew how many clones the boy could make now. Heck, he even had first-hand experience and he had experienced the perverse technique that followed too. How uncomfortable of an experience, Ebisu thought to himself, flushing at the memories. Reminder of his weakness for naked women aside, the boy had potential. He would draw it out and it would be a no-brainer. As a former Chunin instructor for 5 years, a Takabetsu Chunin for 5 more, and having experience in training many youthful shinobi, he would draw such power out this young man too. However, what was so surprising was the complete confidence the Hokage had in Naruto. It was almost startling. It was like the Hokage knew Naruto would grow and become a great shinobi. Ebisu would have to judge for himself. 1 week later, Ebisu, after being pleased with Naruto's progress with chakra control for the day, stopped Naruto from doing anything. That is enough for the day, Naruto-kun. We are finished for now. Naruto nodded, dispelled the 2 clones he created to help him with the exercise, and felt his chakra returning to him. A small burst of memories as well came with the chakra. The blonde-haired boy was starting to get used to the rush of memories his clones gave him after they popped, especially after hours of training. How he didn't realize the clones gave him memories before was beyond him. However, the change in pace would be great to Naruto. Hours of training with his chakra control became days, and Naruto had done this for a week. It felt like forever that he was doing the water walking exercise. There was little to gain now that he has moved on the water, actually sparred a little on the water with his clones in the hopes to simulate a real battle and stayed on the water for extended amounts of time. All it could do was strengthen his pools of chakra, to which they were already strong enough. The blonde-haired boy felt he had a good grip on his control now and wanted to move on to something else. He had voiced this opinion to Ebisu a few days ago, but his temporary teacher had stated Naruto still had the week to finish working on his control. The Chunin didn't want Naruto to move on from training his chakra. Naruto felt compelled to try again today. After all, it was the end of the week. So, sensei, what are we going to do next? We're doing chakra control, but I want to know what we're going to do next. Not exactly subtle in his question, Naruto nevertheless felt like he needed to ask. I think it is about time to move on and put your new handle on your chakra control to use. Ebisu smiled, seeing Naruto's face light up in glee. Yes, it is time to work on some new ninjutsu for you to learn. Tomorrow, I will see how much you know and gauge from there where I want to take your training at. Naruto did a silent cheer in his head. Instead of the dull things like practicing his chakra control, he could learn exhilarating things in ninjutsu. Learning more ninjutsu would kick so much butt. Naruto smiled and cheered. Right. I see you then, Ebisu-sensei. Farewell, Naruto-kun. Ebisu waved, then disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Naruto recognized that technique immediately, rubbing his chin. I've just gotta get Ebisu-sensei to teach me how to use that technique one of these days. Naruto grinned, walking away from the training grounds and back into town. Already, he was progressing quickly. Pretty soon, he would be twice as strong as he was before. Chunin exams, here I come. I can't wait to show up Neji's ass, hell, even Sasuke while I'm at it. Sasuke was a potential opponent after all. If he did beat Neji, he would have to worry about others as well. Gonna show Sakura-chan I'm so cool. A pity he could not show Sakura or anyone for that matter any of his ninjutsu before the match. Ebisu stressed that Naruto needed to keep the element of surprise on his side, otherwise potential opponents could get information on him in order to counter him. It made sense seeing that 4 of his potential opponents Shikamaru, Sasuke, Shino, and that shithead Neji were denizens of Konohagakure. Ebisu had promised him that Naruto would learn ninjutsu before the month's end. Ebisu stressed a powerful shinobi kept his trump card to himself until the optimal time to use it. Nothing trivial like everyday life affairs or to show off up a person. And Ebisu was right, for what it was worth. Naruto personally didn't like it, but he was right. He needed to not show off to anyone. A ninja should save his best tricks for last. Plus, now Naruto thought about, there wasn't really anything he could show. Yeah, so what that he could walk on water perfectly and fight on it. That wouldn't help in a place like the Chunin exams, where they would be fighting in a stadium. Not to mention, Sasuke team isn't even here. Naruto muttered, thinking about his troublesome teammate and rival. His eyebrows furrowed and a frown appeared on his face. He's out training with Kakashi-sensei. It still hurt knowing his teacher refused to help him out when he needed it the most. After all, he was in the Chunin exams as well, wasn't he? He needed Kakashi-sensei's help shaping up. He hated how he felt in the forest of death. If the man who attacked them, Orochimaru, wanted to kill them, he could have easily done so. Now that he thought about it, what about Sakura? Just because she wasn't in the exams didn't mean she didn't need any training either. She needed a bunch of training as well. Even how awesome she was. That was messed up and it annoyed Naruto. The irrational part of him screamed out once that his teacher was playing favorites, but he knew that it was much deeper than that. He could see why Sasuke would need a lot of help. Gaara didn't look like anybody you messed around with. Kakashi was also the only one that could teach Sasuke how to use his Sharingan as well, because he had one Sharingan eye. Then he could see Ebisu's reasoning as well. Sasuke was not just the Uchiha boy he knew. He was the last of his clan. He was a symbol and ultimately, a target. That bastard, Orochimaru, would stop at nothing to get the boy's Sharingan. Sasuke was the only living person who Orochimaru could obtain it from as well, and compared to Orochimaru, Sasuke was a kitten. The snake bastard could easily take Sasuke, kill him, and take his eyes. However, from what Naruto got from Ebisu, Orochimaru wanted Sasuke for himself, to take him and to bring him over to his side. Sway him away with power. Admittedly, Naruto realized that it had been a good tactic. Sasuke always talked about his wishes to get stronger and better. It paralleled with Naruto's own desires to become a great shinobi, but Sasuke never talked about getting stronger to serve his village in good ways, like becoming a Chunin or Anbu. In fact, now that Naruto thought about it, Sasuke only wanted to be in these exams to test himself to fight strong opponents and gauge how strong he had gotten. Unlike Naruto who wanted to become a Chunin to get missions to help him climb the ladder to become a Hokage, Sasuke seemed less interested in becoming a Chunin and more about obtaining power. Then he remembered back in the mission back in Nami no Kuni. Naruto frowned thinking about that one, remembering how close Team Kakashi came towards death. He remembered how Sasuke almost died and his wishes for Naruto to kill a person who had plagued him for a long time. His own brother, Itachi. The source of all Sasuke's ambitions to become a terribly strong shinobi. Believing he would die, Sasuke asked Naruto to kill Itachi for him. That was all taken back when Sasuke actually lived. He acted like he never said anything to Naruto about anything. Not that Naruto ventured to try to get Sasuke to speak about it. It was a touchy subject. Naruto hadn't done much research on Sasuke's older brother, but he knew Itachi Uchiha was a missing nin, wanted for the genocide of the Uchiha clan. If that was true, then talking to Sasuke about it who was always so standoffish and aloof was a big no-no. He would get nothing out of it. Still, he could understand. Sasuke's own brother killed everyone in Sasuke's clan. A feat that Naruto couldn't even imagine. How could anyone kill all those people and be okay with that? Them all being family? If Naruto knew how it was to have a brother and have his brother betray him, he would probably hate him as much as Sasuke hated Itachi. Sometimes, Naruto could hear Sasuke whisper his name under his breath when he thought no one was hearing in a spiteful, almost obsessive tone. Naruto had no idea what was the deal with his rival teammate, but perhaps it was good Kakashi-sensei was looking after Sasuke. He didn't like how him and Sakura-chan got ignored because of it, but perhaps he could not exactly fault his sensei for attending to Sasuke. Especially if Sasuke was as bad as Ebisu-sensei said he was. He didn't want Sasuke doing something hectic if Orochimaru really was someone who could get in the Uchiha boy's head. Worrying about something just wasn't his style, Naruto decided. If anything, he should be worrying about getting some chow in before the night began. All that training and burning up energy put his hunger up to high gear. Still, Naruto frowned. What does Kakashi-sensei's words mean? How do I become a Chunin without winning the tournament? He wondered out loud. The silence being his own answer. He found his trip back to the village and his dinner at Ichiraku Ramen strangely quiet and thoughtful. Amen-chan and Tsuchijiji asked him what was wrong later that night, but they could do nothing much to bring him out of his thoughts. Not even food could do it. The day after, the day will be a shorter day, Naruto-kun. I have other duties to attend to. My training of young Konohamaru-sama hasn't stopped now that I have accepted to train you, was what Ebisu told him when they started their training session. I hope to first see how many ninjutsu you have at your disposal, see your chakra affinity, and have you started on working with your element. Chakra affinity? Naruto questioned. I never heard of that phrase before. You have not? Ebisu raised an eyebrow. It entails back to nature transformation. Naruto gave him a blank look. The instructor sighed, a little in irritation for Naruto's ignorance. Nature transformation is an advanced form of chakra control where one molds and defines their chakra into their pre-assigned chakra nature. In layman's terms, it simply means changing one's chakra to emulate an element. Fire, water, earth, lightning, or wind. Oh. Naruto's face lit up in realization. So that's like using Kaiten or Suiton techniques. Yes. Ebisu did a small smile. Everyone has a different chakra nature, where their chakra is naturally attuned to an element. A demonstration perhaps will help you understand even more. Slowly, Ebisu did a small set of hand seals. Naruto watched curiously as Ebisu formed a small fire release technique where it involved summoning a small fireball in his hand. This is my natural chakra nature. Fire. My chakra naturally is attuned to fire and thus, I have an affinity for Kaiten techniques. Hot damn. So, I'm going to be learning how to use elemental techniques kick ass. Naruto said excitedly, jumping up and down while cheering loudly, yes. Settle yourself, Naruto-kun. Ebisu frowned, finding Naruto's use for profanity a little off-putting. This is not something you'll get down in a day or two. You may have an easier time learning techniques from this path of ninjutsu, but learning and developing techniques take some time doing, since you are getting used to using your chakra in that state. This is a skill many people take years developing and mastering. The man hid away a small smile. He exaggerated a little bit with this. Well, what he said was quite true, it wouldn't be so bad for Naruto, since the technique he had been provided with before could help him with training quite a bit. A lot of shinobi did not have the luxury using the Kage Bunshin in that way. Many could not manage making more than one clone without suffering some sort of ill effect. However, Ebisu had accomplished making Naruto annoyed. Naruto's reaction was predictable. I don't have years to figure this stuff out. I got only to the end of this month to get stronger. What's the point of showing me something I can't learn now? Fortunately, you do have the Kage Bunshin to use to condense some of this training down to simply a month. Ebisu admitted, deciding to stop teasing Naruto for now. It was amusing seeing Naruto get riled up, but he had to remind Naruto not to always take things at face value. I told you to not show so many emotions in battle, Naruto-kun. Enemies might use your anger to just make you trip up. Do not believe everything everyone says is truth. Naruto blushed in embarrassment, realizing that he did get incensed fast because of that. Sorry sensei. You're right. Okay, so we're doing this thing now? You're going to show me my element. The Takubetsu Chunin pulled something out his pocket. Naruto realized it was a piece of white paper. Instead of asking off the fly what the hell it was, like Naruto wanted to do, the boy waited until Ebisu provided an explanation. This is a special paper that reacts when a person channels chakra into it. The following reaction from the chakra shows what chakra nature you have. If the paper ignites and becomes ash, you have fire-type chakra. If the paper cuts in half, you have wind. If the paper becomes damp, you have water. If the paper wrinkles up, you have lightning. Finally, if the paper becomes dirt and crumbles away, you have earth. Got you? Naruto nodded, understanding what he had to do. Give him the paper. Ebisu handed it over, and Naruto held the paper up with his two thumbs. Naruto furrowed his brow in light concentration and focused his eyes to the paper. Then, he applied the smallest amount of chakra into the paper, knowing going overboard with it would be a waste. The reaction of the paper was instantaneous. What was white paper was transmuted into brown dirt. Naruto wiped his hands of the brown grime and looked at his teacher expectantly. I guess my element is earth. Ebisu looked in interest, grasping his chin with his fingers. Interesting. I expected more of an offensive element like fire for you. A major of Konohagakure's forces have fire as their affinity. Nonetheless, this does not make it difficult to train you. I am proficient in 3 chakra natures myself. Really? Which? I thought you said you only could use fire. I said fire was my original chakra affinity. The Chunin corrected his student. Many Chunin as myself can use more than one element and I can use fire, earth, and water release. Naruto whistled. I want to use more than one element one day. You can. It could take years to do so. Knowing a few ninjutsu in an element is one thing, but to master it means you can use ninjutsu in the element almost without thinking about it. Naruto frowned slightly, thinking a bit back when Ebisu said he could use 3 elements. Sensei, if it's not so rude to ask, but I've got a question for you. The bandana-wearing Chunin shrugged. Ask away. You said you're good in 3 elements, right? The man nodded, prompting Naruto to continue his lines of questions. So, if you're good at ninjutsu, how come you're not a full-fledged Chunin? A good question. Well, it is true I am proficient in ninjutsu, and my chakra is slightly above average. I lack Chunin-level skills in Taijutsu, or Jinjutsu. I also am one of the best tutors of Konohagakure. Years before as a Chunin teacher, teaching the youth at the academy, has helped with that. Ebisu nodded, admitting to his faults very easily, not in the slightest insulted by Naruto's question. He withheld a sigh, however. The man thought the question Naruto had for him would related to his secret affinity for literature written by Jiraiya-sama. The mischievous little scamp. Naruto nodded, absorbing the information in. Pretty cool that he was proficient in ninjutsu, something Naruto aimed to one day be the best in. Out of all 3 of the main class of ninja combat, ninjutsu was something Naruto found himself enjoying. Taijutsu was a close second, but ninjutsu was where it was at. Alrighty. So, what's next again? Show me the amount of ninjutsu you know. Ebisu then moved a bit away for Naruto to have some breathing space to use any technique. Okay. Naruto quickly did a hand seal and demonstrated first the Henge no Jutsu, or rather a variation. One Ebisu has come to know and despise. How's this? Ebisu Sensei Naruto cooed in his Warwick no Jutsu form, his voice imitating a woman's. That earned him a punch to the back of his head from a now irritated Ebisu, who rushed up to Naruto. Ow! The boy exclaimed, returning to his normal 13-year-old form while holding his head. What did I do? Be serious. Ebisu yelled, trying his best to hide his blush, but failing miserably as Naruto mischievously smiled his way. A simple transformation would have been just fine. Sorry Ebisu-sensei. Naruto apologized, though it sounded very insincere to Ebisu. The man's right eyebrow twitched. Alright, I can do Henge, Warwick, That technique is hardly useful. The man scoffed and moved back to the space he occupied before. Hey. It is too. Naruto protested childishly, watching Ebisu's retreating form. It worked on tons of people. You, Sarutobi Jiji, that earned him another smack to his head. Ow. Do not address Sarutobi-sama so informally. Ebisu barked, turning his head to glare at Naruto. Plus, I do not believe you. As if Hokage-sama would fall for such a trick. The blonde-haired teen snorted. Try reading the report with that Mizuki team in it. Be serious, Naruto. My time is short, as is my patience. Ebisu warned, his frown deepening. Show me your other techniques. Naruto sighed, a little pout on his face. Fine. A single hand seal later, and Naruto showed next a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, with producing one clone. I can do the regular and Tajik version. A small grin lit up on his face. As you know. As I do know. Ebisu admitted with a sigh, remembering the memory of Naruto using the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu in conjunction with Naruto's perverted version of the Henge no Jutsu. What else? Horimi no Jutsu. Switching positions with Ebisu, who blinked in slight confusion until the effect ended, Naruto grinned. I can switch with full body targets easily. Heh. Interesting. Switching with humanoid targets was a little hard than doing such with smaller objects. Then distance was added in, and the technique got a bit harder. It took much chakra to do so, for most genin and some chunin anyway. So, it was somewhat impressive Naruto had managed it. Not exactly awe-inspiring since the boy had a large amount of chakra at his disposal, but it was something. Not a problem for Naruto since he had quite a lot of chakra to begin with it. Do you have any offensive ninjutsu? Naruto frowned a little. No, I don't. I suppose it is time to fix that. Ebisu smiled. Well, I am satisfied with what I seen. Meet me back here tomorrow at our usual time and we will go over with the first exercise with working with your chakra nature. Eh? More exercises? I thought from here you can start learning your affinities jutsu. You must first get used to being able to mold and convert your chakra into the element first. Do not worry. Once you learn the steps, you will be able to start learning some ninjutsu. Alright, sensei. Naruto pumped his fist. Tomorrow's going to kick some butt. Ebisu beamed, finding Naruto's excitement contagious. See you soon, Naruto-kun. Ebisu disappeared in a plume of smoke. Naruto pouted and reminded himself to get his temporary teacher to teach him that Shunshin no Jutsu. Right after he learned some awesome earth release techniques after all. The next day, the first steps to using earth release ninjutsu is learning how to mold and control the earth around you. Ebisu pointed to the ground under them. I want you to focus your chakra into your hands, glue it to the ground, and pick up the dirt with your hands. What's the point of this? Naruto furrowed his brow in confusion. I can pick up dirt already. But chakra, Naruto-kun. Ebisu shook his head in slight exasperation. Think. We can all simply pick up dirt, but it is soft and falls apart. I am asking you to pick it up with your chakra and to not spill a bit of it. Almost all earth release ninjutsu uses pre-existing sources of earth in order to create techniques. More advanced users can simply create earth from their chakra. Right now, you will be learning to manipulate the earth beneath your feet and keeping it all together with your chakra. You will be learning how to do just that for the time being. Now, no more talking. Concentrate. Naruto sighed, but obeyed and started channeling chakra in his body. Then, he focused it into his hands, letting it channel through them for a brief moment. Satisfied and comfortable with the amount he had generated, he then placed his hand slowly onto the ground and tried picking up some of the earth beneath him. For his troubles, Naruto's hand simply bounced off the ground and nearly smacked him back of his face. Recoiling slightly in some pain, Naruto recovered, blinking owlishly. Huh? What the hell? Ebisu folded his arms. Not enough chakra, Naruto-kun. The earth rejected it. Not enough. But I thought putting too much wouldn't be good. Of course not, but the same could be said about putting too little. Remember. This is more than learning how to utilize your elemental affinity. This is an advanced level of chakra control. You must find the right balance of chakra. This is why we were doing chakra control exercises for a week previously. Exercises you were complaining about, no less. Realizing this will be more complicated than he thought, Naruto made a familiar hand seal. Kage Bunshin no. Wait, Naruto-kun. Ebisu called out, grabbing the boy's hand before Naruto could complete his technique. He was no sensor, but he could practically feel all that buildup of chakra from Naruto. Before you start making a bunch of shadow clones, I want you to realize what using too many clones can do to your body after you dispel them. Make 2 or 3 clones. However, do not make 20. The more clones you make, the more clones dispelling at a certain time period can damage you mentally. Naruto furrowed his eyebrows, closing his eyes in frustration. Gah. Only 3. I just want to get this down so I can start learning some ninjutsu. Besides, I make a lot of clones all the time and dispel them and they never killed me before. Never had to worry about it. In due time, Naruto-kun. Ebisu said calmly, not allowing himself to become irritated by the boy's eagerness to push through the important part of the training without caution. I told you already it takes a while to learn how to use one's chakra to manipulate a chakra nature. Have patience. You have a road ahead of you. Most of this will be done on your spare time. I will start you on the path, but you have to walk it. Naruto tried not to roll his eyes, sighing deeply. Fine. 3 clones tops, Ebisu-sensei. Ebisu was not very convinced. Take your fingers from behind your back, Naruto. You're not slick. God damn it. Naruto swore under his breath. So what if he was crossing his fingers behind his back? If this was most of this to be done in his spare time, why did it matter if Naruto used all the clones he wanted to help him? Besides, just because he had a lot clones doesn't mean he would dispel all of them at once. Patience, Naruto-kun. Ebisu dug into his pockets, grabbing a white cloth. He then took his spectacles off and wiped them clean with the cloth. Good things come with patience. I know, but I got until the end of this month to make sure Neji doesn't win. I need to find ways to beat him. The best way to learn how to do that is to study on his source of strength. Tell me. Do you know what Neji's most used tool is? Ah, man. Not more of this riddle shit. What? His mind. Naruto scoffed, remembering that one time Iruka-sensei from the Konoha Academy once said a ninja's best tool was his mind. Not in this case, Naruto-kun. The Tobaketsu Chunin smiled thinly, his eyebrow twitched in annoyance at Naruto's uncouth language. His eyes, Naruto-kun. The Byakugan. Do you know anything about the Byakugan? Not as much as I like. Naruto admitted. Scratching his cheek sheepishly, he uttered, haven't exactly found out the trick to that ninjutsu thingy. Well, perhaps it's time to look up a solution, if that troubles you. Go to the library in your spare time. Ebisu watched his student's face light up with some distaste. Naruto groaned. Ah, man. The library. Studying. So boring. I'm not a book person, sensei. I figured, believe him, Ebisu did, but it is still good to once in a while read up something that you don't know so it can help you. If you are weak in one area, seek out a person who is strong in said area. Or in this case, something. Use everything as your resource. If it spares me a speech, maybe I'll go hit up the library sometime this week. Naruto conceded, saying it in defeat. Rubbing his temples and sighing, he bemoaned, alright. I'll do it, but I want to get this chakra training down. Yes, you will, Naruto-kun. Knowing you, no matter what I say, you will not stop until you prevail. Ebisu chuckled wholeheartedly. Alright, let us concentrate now. Back to the exercise. Naruto saluted, a little more energetically. Yes sir. The blonde-haired boy once again tried channeling chakra into his hands. This time, a bunch. In his excitement, he practically slammed his hands into the ground and felt his hands and then his arms sink. Ha. Ha. Sensei, help. I'm sinking. I'm fucking sinking. Ebisu stifled a peal of laughter. Naruto-kun, calm down. Simply cut the link of chakra flowing through your hands. What? Stop channeling chakra, Naruto. Simple as that. Ebisu explained again. Naruto tried to stop panicking and stop channeling chakra into his hands. When he felt the channeling chakra in hands ceasing, his arms were completely submerged in dirt and his face was nearly touching the ground. He immediately lifted himself and ripped his two limbs out of the ground, creating a small but noticeable hole in the soil. Dirt and grime caked his arms, hands, and fingernails, but his arms were unscathed. Still, Naruto felt icky with all this crap on his limbs. Okay, I'll let my clones figure this one out while we do something else. Ebisu nodded. Probably a good choice. I will let you decide. I will give you a few minutes to find a nearby water stream and wash yourself. We shall continue training. Naruto smiled. Thanks sensei. I'll be back. Then, the boy hopped away, moving to find his objective. Ebisu chuckled at his student's antics. Boy, was Naruto-kun quite the hassle sometimes. Jiraiya had finally made to the outskirts of Konohagakure by noon. The front gates of the village was in his vision, just a small distance out. A great part of him wanted to hit up the entertainment district of Konohagakure and go to his favorite place in the world. The bathhouses. Where the wonders and contours of the female body awaited his viewing eyes. Just thinking of it put a smile on Jiraiya's face. Alas, Sarutobi-sensei had given him the urgent call to make it back to the village. Something to do with Orochimaru and his presence in Konohagakure, which was indeed important. Who knew what Orochimaru was planning? It was no secret that the missing nin despised his former home, and if he dared stepping in the village again after a decade of being banished, then he was about to start trouble again. Among other things that were important, one thing involving his godson and Jiraiya stopped his operations in other countries temporarily and returned home to Hai no Kuni. To be back in his homeland was something that gave Jiraiya a small smile. Jiraiya was a rolling stone, never staying in one place for an extended amount of time. He got to see lands, meet important people, and experience things not many people did in their entire lifetime. However, he did miss the village and his time away. Being back, even for a while, would be nice. How long had it been again? 8 years? Damn, had it been that long? It had, hadn't it? He only remembered so because he saw Naruto Uzumaki jet through the forest leading outside the territory of the hidden village Konohagakure, stopping by a body of water. Nostalgia and a great underlying surface of sadness washed over him when he seen Minato's boy run around from the clearing, nearby a training ground. He had last seen the boy around when he was 4, or at the very least got a look at him before going back off to his duties given to him by the Sannin Hokage. He took a month off from the adventuring and visited the village to see what was going on before go back outside the village on another adventure. Naruto probably didn't even remember his face. A damn shame too, seeing as Jiraiya was supposed to be his godfather and all. Naruto had looked like he was becoming a teen now. The growth spurt didn't apparently kick in because he looked super short. What was Naruto doing out here? Apparently, he had some sort of grime on him or something and he made it to a stream. Washing his arms and hands of the brown stuff. Was he out here training or something, Jiraiya wondered to himself. Interesting. Curiosity getting the better of him, Jiraiya followed the boy back a bit to where he met back with his teacher. He was not that very aware of his surroundings, he snorted. He made plenty of noise and Naruto practically raced back to wherever he came from without so much of a worry. He supposed he could not fault him. Jiraiya, after all, was a master of stealth and had decades of hiding experience over Naruto. So, he easily trailed Naruto and followed him back. To which Jiraiya saw Ebisu, a Chunin-level shinobi, tutoring Naruto. Jiraiya wasn't very acquainted with the man, but they knew each other, at least on name and face basis. Jiraiya met the man when he was with the Sannin Hokage once. The Chunin then asked him if he wanted to continue working on his elemental affinity, to which Naruto stated yes loudly. The Sannin whistled impressively. Not many genin type of shinobi worked with their chakra nature at a young age. Jiraiya himself didn't learn his chakra affinity at a young age like that. After all, he was one of those late bloomers. Perhaps Naruto took after his father more than his mother. Then he seen the boy use several shadow clones and his eyes widened. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was a Chunin level technique that many Chunin couldn't make more than 3 without feeling tired. Since when the kid had access to that technique. The boy made 4 and attempted to utilize his chakra. Another shock came to him when he seen Naruto's clones place their hands from the ground and pick up pieces of the earth itself. Or attempted to anyway, as most of it fell to the ground. Naruto growled in frustration, but his clone continued to do the dirty work. Jiraiya had to chuckle a little at the little funny he made. Still, tasteless pun aside, Jiraiya pondered in the trees above about this new discovery. Doten affinity. Wasn't Minato's affinity Katen? Or was it Photon? Come to think of it, wasn't Kushina's affinity wind and not Minato? Doesn't really matter. Jiraiya seen the boy use his clones to do the technique, meanwhile he and Ebisu continue training and doing other things. Things like working on Naruto's taijutsu skills. It was intriguing, definitely. He realized he should have left, but he found himself staying for another 20 minutes later, watching Naruto training with his sensei. Finally done with watching his godson, Jiraiya smiled wistfully and left the training grounds and back to civilization in Konohagakure. It was time to do so anyway, or the Hokage would tan his hide. He had to catch up with his godson. Perhaps even give him some help with his training, seeing he was using Doten ninjutsu. But he would have to see, especially if Sarutobi-sensei had other plans for him. Jiraiya would figure it out. For now though, Naruto looked to be doing just fine right now. Yes, on the right path. Naruto was finished for the day with his training. No success was made today with how many clones his teacher made him use. Ebisu also left relatively early today, so Naruto could not continue training in other things that did not involve ninjutsu. He wanted to actually spawn 1,000 of clones and have them all work on the earth release exercise, but he made a promise to his teacher, and a part of him that got him sometimes in trouble, he refused to break that promise. After hours of frustration, Naruto gave up and decided to take a break from it all. Tomorrow would come anyway, and Naruto could spend hours attempting the technique again. I'm sure I'll get it down soon enough. Naruto grinned to himself, closing his eyes and putting his hands behind his head. Strolling inside the village's gates once again after being checked by the station Chunin there, he decided to continue wandering around and go places. And by places, he meant ramen Ichiraku to get a bite to eat. It was around lunchtime for him. All the training had worked up a mean hungry in Naruto, and he would oblige fulfilling it. It took a few minutes, but he made it to Ichiraku and immediately plopped down into a seat. The sound of his shuffling around as he entered the shop was enough to tip off the person behind the counter. AM smiled at him jovially as the young boy entered the shop. Naruto, our favorite customer. How's it going? Swell. Naruto smiled back. After some training, I thought some ramen would hit the spot right about now. The brown-haired waitress giggled, leaning forward. You would have been coming around this time, even if you weren't training. The blonde-haired boy guffawed at the older teenager's response. Amen-chan. You know me so well. So, where's Chuchi Jiji? Father's out taking care of some business outside the village. It's just me today. Oh, hopefully you ain't lonely, En-chan. Manning one shop for the day without any help must be difficult. Naruto seen the girl waved her hands, shaking off his comment. Nah, it's good my dad is gone for the day. Everyone needs a break from the people they love. Besides, business is usually slow on Sunday afternoons anyway. I can handle it. AM chuckled and straightened up, ready to take her younger friend's order. Heh. So, what's it today, Naruto? My classic miso, please. The 13-year-old pounded his fists on the counter excitedly. Ramen. AM laughed, holding her hands up. Okay, Naruto. Settle down. One miso ramen starting, of course. She gave one last smile to the boy before disappearing back into the kitchen. She's a cutie, isn't she? A voice rang from outside the shop. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the source of the voice. A very tall man with white, spiky and long hair, a red haori, a green kimono, and green pants entered the restaurant. Red lines adorned his face, starting from his eyes and finishing at his jawline. He wore a friendly smile on his face and plopped down next to Naruto. Naruto gave him a neutral, analyzing look before shrugging. I haven't noticed. No. The man grinned at him. Naruto found himself not quite liking that grin. It looked vaguely perverted. She's a cutie little thing. Probably grow up to be quite the beauty. Naruto again found himself shrugging, trying to shake off that uncomfortable feeling. It sounded like the man was a pervert alright. She's not my type. Ha. Not really into girls that age, huh? Or do you swing another way? Naruto glared slightly at the man. Amen-chan is like family to me. I don't like her like that. So shut your face, old man. The man guffawed. Settle down, kid. I'm just kidding. Although, don't think I didn't catch you not answering my other question. What other question? The man shook his head, obviously amused. He didn't bother answering Naruto's question, to which the blonde-haired Uzumaki frowned at. Naruto watched the man turn his attention to the kitchen and yell out, waitress. I'd like what the brat here's having, please. One miso ramen coming up. Yelled back the girl from the kitchen. Naruto harumphed. Stop bothering me, old guy. The man snorted. You know, I'm not some old guy, you know. Do you even know who I am, kid? No, and why should I care? The blonde-haired boy folded his arms. DSK. Typical kids these days don't know what generation preceded before. I'm the great one. I'm the excellent, sublime, and awesome hero of the Second Shinobi World War. I'm the gallant one himself, I am. Sannin no Jiraiya. A gasp from AM came out. AM almost dropped the soup she was holding, ignoring the cry of protest from Naruto. The young woman, in the end, got the bowl of noodle soup to Naruto shakily. She placed Naruto's food on the counter and immediately did a deep bow. It's an honor, sir. Geez, Amen-chan. You almost spilled my ramen. Naruto took his ramen bowl and hugged it to his chest protectively. What did it do to you? Jiraiya smirked at AM's blatant show of reverence towards him. See? She's just a civilian and she knows more about my reputation than you, brat. The war hero snorted. Kids these days. Naruto rolled his eyes. He placed his soup back down, thanked the waitress, and cracked open the chopsticks AM placed on the table with his bowl of soup. So you're a war hero, huh? Big whoop. Naruto relished the man's face falling into a frown. I couldn't care less. AM gasped at Naruto's blatant disrespect. And Naruto, please. Apologize. This man is Jiraiya of the Sannin. The legendary 3 shinobi that are at the level of the Hokage himself and powerful warriors with esteemed reputations. She turned back to the older man and bowed again. I apologize, Jiraiya-sama. Your food will be right on its way. The man waved. Take your time. The two males watched the female waitress return back into the kitchen area of the shop. Jiraiya then grinned over at Naruto cockily. See? I'm an esteemed powerful warrior, boy. And that impresses me how? Naruto grinned, digging into his soup. Getting a handful of some noodles with his sticks and slurping them up in a mighty gulp, Naruto chuckled and started talking in the back to his friend. What impresses me more is how in the hell do you always make miso so good and chance some old coot doesn't faze me. Jiraiya folded his arms and growled. Old coot. Listen kid, I could kick your ass easily if I wanted to. In fact, I can show you now if you want. Naruto snorted. If Amen-chan said you're on the level of Sarutobi Jiji, fighting you would be stupid. You may be super strong, but you don't automatically get my respect and awe just because you're some great warrior of an old era. You want my respect? Get in line and earn it. Jiraiya looked him over for a second, almost glaring at him, before guffawing and slapping Naruto's back in a jolly manner. The boy immediately almost choked on some food he was eating and coughed loudly at the man's strength. Shit, this guy patted his back so hard, it almost hurt. I like you, kid. You're not so easily impressed and know what you're talking about. You got some spunk. Still, it would do you some good if you respect your elders, you know. I'm Jiraiya. What's your name, boy? Then Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto sputtered out, regaining some of his wits. Jiraiya smiled. Naruto, a respectable, gutsy name. Perhaps it could even be a legendary one day. Hey kid, you participating in the Chunin exams this year? Yeah, I am. The orange-clad genin nodded, wondering how the guy guessed that. How did you know? The toad sage whistled. Ooh, boy. Can't remember how long has it was since I became a Chunin. Good times. Ah, then again most of those good times were also pretty bad war and all. Naruto hummed, barely veiling his disinterest. He did not want to hear some old-timer wax on some of his old glory days stories. He was just here for the ramen. But Jiraiya did wax indeed, for almost a half hour, and while some stories were, admittedly, interesting, most were about how awesome the guy was. How arrogant was that? Naruto immediately ignored the feeling of being a hypocrite and readied himself to leave ramen Ichiraku. As soon as he finished his soup, he told the man an excuse about needing to be somewhere else, muttered a thank you, and jetted out of there. Paid his bill to AM and left before he could get his ear talked off. Unknown to him, Jiraiya's eyes followed him out. After a lingering look and a small chuckle, Jiraiya finished the rest of his miso ramen, thanked the waitress, and left the shop as well. He knew where next he had to go. Ebisu enjoyed the night air's pleasant wind, finishing up eating at his favorite little restaurant in town. Deciding not wanting to eat at home tonight and treating himself to some delicious kamaboko and fried crab tonight, his stomach was very pleased. He was now off to home to enjoy an hour of light reading, then sleeping for tomorrow, where he would continue his training of young Naruto Uzumaki. He had to admit, the training was going smoother than he first thought it would be like when he agreed to this arrangement Kakashi-san set up. Much better. Although the boy had gotten on his nerves quite a bit and tried his patience, Naruto was starting to come around in his training. Perhaps he would be able to learn some new ninjutsu over the course of the month. The boy did need something more offensive against Neji Hyuga. Ebisu had an idea on what to teach Naruto next, but it required him to master his earth chakra. He knew how the boy worked. Once determined, it seemed like Naruto would stop at nothing but to succeed in his task. That attitude could carry him places. Soon, Naruto would be ready to learn what Ebisu wanted to teach him. Ebisu was so busy pondering, he didn't notice bumping into someone. Someone much taller than him and someone familiar. In fact, someone quite famous. It wasn't soon until Ebisu was bowing deeply and apologizing profusely to who he hurriedly walked into. Ah. Jiraiya-sama. Forgive me, Millard. I hope I did not ruin anything on your person. Jiraiya himself would call Ebisu's apologizing groveling on the floor. He could swear the bandana-wearing shinobi was saying under his breath I am not worth. A couple of times too. The older man scratched his head in confusion. It's okay. Remembering why he approached the increasingly peculiar man, he raised his voice to get the bowing man's attention. Hey, Ebisu-san, straighten up. I would like to have a word with you. Yes sir. What do you need, Jiraiya-sama? Ebisu quickly stood tall again, giving the older man his undivided attention. Jiraiya folded his arms, already in business mode. I see you're teaching Naruto Uzumaki. What? Is this a short affair? Coulda sworn Kakashi had that little squirt as a student. Ebisu nodded. Ah, yes. Kakashi-kun could not teach Naruto in the month due to needing to tend to Sasuke Uchiha for the month. Orochimaru, unfortunately, attacked him in the Chunin exams. Jiraiya hummed in comprehension. He remembered being briefed on that by Sarutobi-sensei. That damn Orochimaru got his hands on the Uchiha and gave that boy the dreaded Ten no Juin, his personally designed Juinjutsu that he branded on his victims. Or people of interest. Even to this day, that damn technique still eluded him to no end. Anko Mitarashi also had the same thing too. Poor girl had been branded with the damn seal for years now. Jiraiya grunted, ceasing his pondering of Orochimaru's Juinjutsu. I see. Well, it seems like you are doing a good job so far. I seen a little glimpse of what you guys were doing earlier today when you two were training. I got to say, I'm impressed at the boy's progress. Good job. Ebisu blushed in embarrassment. Thank you, Millard. I am humbled by your praise. Naruto-kun is a good student as well as one of the most driven ones I have taught in my years of teaching. It has only been 2 weeks and Naruto-kun has gotten a good amount of progress with his earth release chakra training. Yeah. I respect that. Gotta thank the Niddam Hokage for coming up with that Kage Bunshin, man. Lord know how long it took regular Joes like me or you to get the steps down for our elemental affinities. Jiraiya chuckled wistfully. You know, Sarutobi-sensei wanted me to step in and train Naruto for the month originally, but I got kind of set back a day or two and didn't return to the village in time. Jiraiya's guffaw sounded vaguely perverted. Habits and all. My affinity for hot springs have bitten me on my ass quite a few times in my life. Ebisu nodded, softly stating, I understand. Not that he would admit it out loud, but he did share a bit of Jiraiya's habits and affinity for hot springs. So, do you want me to back off and you teach him from here on out? Jiraiya shook his head. Nah. Me and Sarutobi-sensei already agreed that you are already doing a good job with him. Truth be told, I didn't have much of a plan to teach him. I might have had him sign the toad summoning contract, helped him with his chakra control, or something else, but nothing like what you're doing with him. So, I leave the task of physically training the boy to you. I'll come back to him a little after the exams. Pausing for a second, Jiraiya reached into a pocket in his red Haori and pulled out a white scroll. No, instead, I got some few things on a scroll I think he would like to learn. Since he's an earth-type user, I thought it would be good to learn some jutsu in that elemental branch. That way, I made my contribution for the month. Thus give to him once he's done with learning how to use his elemental chakra. These techniques are good for him too, none of these are low level. Then, he tossed the scroll over to Ebisu. Catch. The bandana-wearing Takabetsu Chunin caught the scroll easily and opened it to scan the techniques inside. There were a total of 6 techniques that were on the scroll. Some of these techniques Ebisu recognized, but most were foreign to him. Nevertheless, they were well detailed and nothing Ebisu himself couldn't help Naruto with. Interestingly enough, there were some mid to high level techniques inside. Nothing too insane, although one of the techniques Jiraiya had written inside the scroll had been an air rank. It wasn't an offensive technique, more defensive in nature. Nevertheless, it would go for a good cause. It didn't quite matter what technique Naruto would attempt, with Naruto's monstrous chakra level, it would all work out just fine. It would fit right up the boy's alley. Ebisu nodded, thinking it was a good idea, and pocketed the scroll in a free area on his person. This is a splendid idea. I will let Naruto know when the time is right. Jiraiya beamed, clapping his hands in contentment. Thanks, kid. I appreciate it. Oh, and tell that Naruto brat Gama Sannin no, Jiraiya said, good luck in the exams. I'll be around and in touch. Enjoy your night, sir. You too, Jiraiya-sama. Ebisu watched the legendary ninja take his leave with a smile. Patting the scroll in a side pocket, he grinned. Yes, I think Naruto-kun will enjoy these techniques at his disposal. 2 days later, and Naruto finally got down the basics of molding earth release chakra, scooping up dirt with his chakra and not spilling a bit. Naruto whooped out a roar of triumph, saying he was ready for anything now. A happy high he was riding on until Ebisu popped his bubble and said he was now ready to learn part 2 of his earth chakra training. You're still quite too far from learning any sort of ninjutsu, Naruto-kun. Come on, man. I'm not finished yet. Naruto groaned, dropping the dirt. No, Naruto-kun. Ebisu grunted out. You are not finished yet. You can pick up dirt now with your chakra without spilling it. Well done. Naruto had the decency to look embarrassed, his face heating up. It was obvious Ebisu was getting annoyed at him, the sarcastic congratulations at Naruto's achievement being a clear indication of such. Now, you must shape the dirt with your chakra. First, we will start off easy and make a scalene triangle as in a triangle with 3 uneven sides. Ebisu explained before Naruto gotten any more confused with the term scalene. Naruto quickly scowled in distaste. What is this? Pottery making class. Since when are we making damn ceramics here? Why do I have to learn how to make shapes with dirt now? Ebisu stayed silent, staring at Naruto intensely through his shades. Instead of saying anything to the boy, Ebisu placed his hand on the ground while Naruto watched in interest. Naruto watched as his teacher stood back up after reaching down and grabbing a clump of dirt with one hand. Then Naruto watched in amazement as Ebisu morphed the dirt, effortless, into specific shapes. First the dirt morphed into a square, then a perfect orb-shaped object, and then things got more complex. More angles were added in, and edges gotten sharper, until Naruto seen Ebisu morph the dirt into a perfectly shaped kunai, reminiscent of a real-life kunai knife. Then, the texture of the earth in Ebisu's hand changed. Gone was the lumpy soft dirt in Ebisu's right hand, and replacing it was smooth hardened brown stone. Ebisu then chose to spoke. This is what I'm talking about when I say shape the dirt. This is what happens when you master your earth chakra. Earth release is about manipulating the earth under you, turning it to anything you want it to be. Get a bunch of earthen material, and you can make a sky-high wall, or a barrier. Gather small material like this, and you can create makeshift weapons in the middle of a battle. Earth release is very versatile and not to be trifled with, Naruto-kun, or made a joke of. Whoa, Naruto looked in awe at the kunai in Ebisu's hand. I'm learning how to do that. Yes. Ebisu smiled thinly. First, you learn how to gather the material, then shape it, then change its texture from hard like this, he flexed a kunai-shaped stone in his hands, to soft like this. Another flex, and the stone had become dirt, crumbling away from Ebisu's hand. And vice versa. Picus, sensei. Wish you told me that from the beginning. Naruto grinned, rubbing his hands like he was about to receive a present. Can't wait to learn that shit. HMPH. That's still far out your way. Now, do what I tell you, and stop acting like a foolish child. Naruto growled, immediately angered by the man. I'm not acting like a child. The Chunin shook his head, preparing another lecture. You're wasting your own time. If you want to become a Chunin, you need to stop blurting out things without thinking first. If you want to beat Neji, you need to learn how to accept your limits. I need you to stop questioning so much what whether or not we're doing is pointless. This exercise is vital to learn how to wield your Rift Chakra correctly. Without it, you will not get far in the ninjutsu department. I have put up with a lot of your antics before, Naruto, and I'm asking you cease it for the time being. You want me to teach you how to become a Chunin? Well, let me teach. Naruto fell silent as he listened to the man, who folded his arms and looked at Naruto with a frown. I will not help someone who likes to waste precious time making jokes. We have as little as 3 more weeks before the month is up and you're still in the stage of learning how to properly use your Rift Chakra. Time to stop acting like a child, Naruto, and be serious for once. Naruto frowned at Ebisu scolding, wanting to yell at the man in annoyance. He felt insulted, hurt. He was trying his damn best here to become stronger and the guy thought he was joking around. Naruto had a few things to say to the guy, but ultimately, shaking his head, he stopped himself. No, the man was right on this one. Naruto made jokes because he was honestly frustrated with not learning fast enough. He was stressed, alright. What a stupid move to declare he would beat Neji in a month, especially when the guy was one of the best genin of this generation. He just didn't want to lose. A lot of shit was riding on this. Not just his pride and honor, but Hinata's too. She didn't deserve that fucking beating her cousin gave her. She was a nice girl, and he beat her close to death just because he was feeling some shitty way about his family's doing. That wasn't right. Someone needed to knock some fucking sense into that guy, and Naruto swore he would be the one to do it. Plus, it was something Naruto had to do himself, to prove himself. He wanted everyone to know that he wasn't the same failure back in the academy, that he'd gotten better, and for fuck's sake, he wanted some damn respect. But it ran even deeper than that. Even now, even if his desire to become Hokage had changed a little, his other desires were still the same. He wanted to be acknowledged, to be noticed, and to be treated like an equal. He wanted to be treated like a real shinobi, not an outcast anymore. He was done with that crap. He wanted to be someone people could rely on. He wanted to be a leader. Of course, in this situation, he could admit he wasn't acting like one. He could see it now. How can you lead when you were whining about shit not going your way every single time? Ebisu sensei was right, he was acting like a child. It was selfish, and it was wasting time. Ebisu was right again, time was going, and he hadn't quite finished up the basics of this training yet. He had to shape up like this lump of dirt he was supposed to shape into a triangle. He had to shape up, and fast. Nodding silently at the man and slumping his head in defeat, Naruto decided it was time to stop joking around and to get to work. Sighing, he muttered a small "I'm sorry" at his teacher before placing his hand on the ground and summoning his chakra to his palm. Dirt in his right hand, Naruto grunted and looked at the dirt in annoyance. Though he was more annoyed at himself than anything. The sooner I'm done doing this dull shit, the quicker I can be doing some cool shit like Ebisu sensei. I just got to be more patient. Then he concentrated his chakra and got very lackluster results. As soon as he summoned more chakra to move the dirt in any sort of way, the dirt rejected his manipulation and a side of it fell back onto the ground and then another side until the dirt that once was in Naruto's hands was back where it first came from. Naruto wanted to yell in frustration at the stupid dirt for not doing what he wanted it to do, but he curbed his, admittedly childish, anger and instead tried concentrating again. When the same thing happened, Naruto's whole body shook, ready to explode. Can I use my shadow clones for this one, sensei? What's the limit again? Naruto resisted the urge to roll his eyes. 3, sensei, Naruto droned. Ebisu nodded back, his face almost haughty in satisfaction. Very good. You may do so. Naruto did a very fake smile back at his temporary teacher before summoning 3 shadow clones by a single hand seal. The clones silently moved to Naruto's sides, one clone on his right and one on his left. They both then placed a palm on the ground and started working the triangle exercise with him, dirt clumping in all 3 of their hands. Hours passed by and Naruto felt no new progress with the technique. His clones had the same bad luck and all 3 of the boys looked sourly at the clumps of dirt they were trying to shape. It was almost time for break time, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Naruto was close to stopping until he looked at the progress his doppelgangers were making. The Naruto clone on the left currently had successfully had one side up at an angle, the left side, while trying to work at the other 2 sides of the triangle sensei told them to make. The clone on Naruto's right side had successfully shaped the side on the right and was trying to keep it up while making the other sides connect. An idea then popped in Naruto's head. Hey, guys, come over to me for a second. Drop your dirt. Both of the clones looked over at the original Naruto, then among themselves, before shrugging nonchalantly and stopped their chakra control exercise. Dirt dropping from their hands, they walked over to the original Naruto, ready to receive their task. Whatcha you need, Prime? I need you 2 to shape one side of the triangle I'm making. I'll concentrate on the last side. Ready? The 2 nodded and placed their hands near the dirt Naruto held in his palm. Invisibly feeding it chakra, the dirt started to shift in Naruto's hands, and Naruto watched in excitement as the uneven triangle was made. Yes. We did it. A voice came from Naruto's far right and near a tree. You finished. Curious, Ebisu took his eyes off an orange-colored book. Catching up on a good read from a distance, as Naruto trained for a few hours, Ebisu failed to see the new progress Naruto had made in his Earth release training, only hearing the boy cheer loudly from his spot on the training grounds. He pocketed his book, being seen with it would bring up much embarrassing questions from Naruto, placing it in his back pocket, and walked over to his student. You did what, Naruto-kun? Look sensei. Me and my clones finally did it, Dadabeo. We shaped it, together. Ebisu blinked owlishly. Together? Yeah. I told my clones to shape each side of the dirt to make a triangle and they did it. Now we're ready for the next part, right? Show me how you did it. Heh. Naruto smirked and dropped the dirt from his hands. Then he grabbed a clump of dirt with his chakra and told his clones to take a side and shape the dirt into the triangle again. Finally, after a few more seconds, they produced an uneven triangle once again. See? We did it, Dadabeo. Ebisu looked over the triangle for a second and then back to the happy three clones before nodding. Very good. Start over now. Naruto almost fell down in shock. His clones did, and comically enough, dispelled when making contact with the hard ground. Wait, what, why? You did not do the exercise correctly. Start over again, Naruto-kun. Ebisu explained nonchalantly. But, why? Naruto whined miserably. I thought I was supposed to make a triangle, sensei. Yes, Naruto-kun, you are supposed to make a triangle, not together with your clones. Ebisu pushed up his shades on the bridge of his nose with his middle finger. You are learning how to shape the earth by yourself, not with your clones. That defeats the purpose of this exercise. You have to learn it by yourself. Over-reliance on your shadow clones will hamper you instead of help you. The time it takes for them to shape the chakra for you will be enough time for most enemies to get in your defenses and attack you, even kill you. But Naruto stammered out. Ebisu shook his head at the blonde boy. No, there will be no shortcuts in this. You are using your clones to help you find a way to complete the exercise, not do it for you. You still have much to do. Ugh, Naruto groaned, running his clean hands. Naruto figured out how to keep the dirt off his hands in part eye of this stupid training through his hair and trying desperate to not tear it out of its roots. Fine, and one more thing, we're stopping for now. Ebisu tapped a wristwatch. It's almost 12. Ugh, Naruto groaned again, this time much louder. Could have came at a better time, huh? Ebisu smiled a little at Naruto, finding his frustration slightly amusing. Do not feel too bad. After all, it is lunch. I will buy you some food. HMPH. I could do with grub right about now. Naruto rubbed his belly forlornly. All this training stress did work up a hell of an appetite. Sighing, he said, oh well. At least I can get some miso ramen in my system. I did not say I was going to buy you ramen, though. But the man grinned, bringing out 2 white papers out of his pants pocket. After all, I do have 2 coupons for that restaurant that serve a great crab dish. Ugh. Naruto groaned out for the last time. Yep, screw today indeed. After the lunch break, Naruto found a way to do the triangle, albeit with both hands. One of his clones decided to do it another way, and when it popped, Naruto got it down as well. Shaping all angles in the most uneven triangle made out of pure dirt, Naruto completed the chakra control exercise, which he was honestly proud of. His teacher, Ebisu, congratulated him on a job well done, but said it wasn't enough for now. He decided to tell Naruto to try it again, this time with one hand, to which annoyed Naruto, but he didn't voice his opinion. Instead he let it go and focused on the task again. That earned him an earnest pat on his shoulder as Ebisu-sensei watched his progress at a distance. Much to Naruto's credit, he found the solution the task Ebisu gave him with making the triangle one-handed a day and a half. It was hard definitely, but he managed to shape his chakra in 3 angles. The advice his teacher gave him was somewhat helpful. Naruto, admittedly, had a problem when it came to thinking too hard on the exercise. Instead of simply trying it, he was too busy thinking he had to do it fast. Ebisu-sensei asked him to simply imagine a triangle being made over and over. He also asked Naruto to stop thinking about how fast to shape the chakra as well. This is simply you learning how to shape it right now. If anything, we shall work on the speed another time. Just do it, not think about how fast how to do it. After a while after the advice, he gotten it down, and he was relieved. Then sensei decided to make it more specific and asked him to make a triangle with all equal angles. It took another few minutes to get it down, but he got it and he thought honestly he was ready to move on to something else much more interesting. Ebisu agreed, and just when Naruto thought he was out of the shape-making department, Ebisu grabbed some dirt of his own. Here's your next task. Ebisu concentrated on his right palm and shaped the dirt instantaneously into a rectangle. You're going to shape it this time to a rectangle. It shouldn't be hard now that you know how to make angles. Naruto muffled any sort of screams of protest and nodded jadedly, working on the task. Interestingly enough, like Sensei said, Naruto gotten it relatively fast. In a few minutes, using the same strategy as before, he gotten the square exercise down quickly. Perfect, Ebisu smiled. You are starting to get it. Is there more to this than making basic shapes? Naruto asked, trying not to voice his frustration. Ebisu could sense it however. Patience, Naruto-kun. There is much more to this technique than shaping, like making it larger or smaller, but that's a task for another day. Preferably after the Chunin exams. The techniques I will show you does not have to do with size changing. Now, cut the link between the chakra shaping the dirt and return it back to how had it before when you first gathered the dirt. Naruto paused and concentrated again, this time slowly bringing the dirt down and making it shapeless. What's next? Make a perfect square. It's like making the perfect triangle. Work slowly and imagine it. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes in thought, focusing on the imagine of a triangle, finding his chakra working for himself and creating the shape in another minute. Ebisu smiled again, excellent. Alright. We're going to finally do some much more complicated. I warn you, this will take a little longer. Instead of making a triangle or square or any shape with angles, I want you to make a perfect circle. Shouldn't be that bad. Ebisu shrugged. A lopsided grin appeared on his face. I warned you. And his teacher did. For a little while, it truly did stump him. Unlike the specific angles the triangle and square asked for, a circle was much different, lacking any sort of thing like that. At first, Naruto unconsciously tried shaping in one direction, but it got something akin to a normal straight angle, and failed. He wanted to ask his teacher for advice, but he stopped and decided to not rely on the man and figure it out himself. Just like the triangle and square, he tried to think what made a circle in his head, letting the dirt sit in his hand. A circle lacked angles and lines, unlike a triangle or square. So in order to do it, he couldn't make it straight. I have to turn my chakra, it was the conclusion he came to. Eyes still closed and making sure to focus hard on this one, he raised one palm over the dirt, fed the chakra, and started circling his hand over the dirt, moving slowly. Anchoring his chakra in his other hand where he held the dirt in to keep it all together, he decided to use his left hand to turn the dirt. He wasn't adept at using it in the same palm he held the dirt in, so he tried with two hands. His chakra responded and moved as he circled his hand over the soil. In the middle of it all, he opened his eyes and saw his work and smiled a little at it. Unfortunately, even as slowly as he went, he ended up not making the circle shape perfect and the ending part of chakra-saturated dirt didn't connect with the beginning part, creating some sort of weird incomplete shape. Still Ebisu looked pleased, beaming in his direction and clapping his hands. Very good. Yes, you are starting to get it. Yes, yes. Very good indeed. Naruto looked vaguely amused, smiling slightly. Even if I failed. Ebisu waved at him offhandedly. Minor details. This is an admittedly difficult task I'm giving you. You know the basics of utilizing your earth chakra and the basics of shape transformation. You now know how to shape your earth chakra certain ways and this now will help you learn some ninjutsu. You're quite not on the level yet to form weaponry out of your element yet, but you're getting there. So, wait, are you going to show me how to change the properties of dirt to stone? Yes. Ebisu nodded. It's simply, really. To harden it to stone, after shaping whatever you want, simply add more chakra and compress it tightly together. If you want to turn stone to soil, you use your chakra, spread it around to loosen the stone, and turn it into soil. I suppose it's easier for you to see it instead of me telling you. Naruto nodded at that. Yes, please. Explanations only went so far with him, the blonde didn't learn like that. He had to see it performed and actually do it in order to learn it. Theory was never his strong suit. Ebisu grunted in affirmation, gathered dirt into his hand, and started shaping the soil into a round orb. Then he compacted the earthen material and created a hard rock. Then, he messed with the object in his hands again and it turned softer and softer until it became a round dirt ball again. To compress your chakra, imagine taking all of your chakra and squeeze it together like you're squeezing something tightly. Try it. You can make any shape you please. Naruto did, dropping the weird shape in his hand, turning the dirt lumpy again, and made a shape. The shape he chose for his task was a triangle, as he edged the soil with his chakra and created the triangle. Then, he attempted to pack his chakra tightly together, but it was easier said than done and found his chakra not exactly responding to his wishes. After another half hour, it was around 4 and Ebisu told him to stop and take a short 15-minute break. Naruto sighed and went towards a spot near his teacher under a shade tree, wiping some sweat off his brow. Naruto brought forth a green canteen of water. The water was kind of warm, but Naruto drank up the liquid all the same and felt some of annoyance for today wash away. A bit more sweeping of the sweat off his forehead and the blonde-haired Uzumaki felt a little better. Naruto found no newer progress, to which irritated him. However, he promised himself to not complain so much about it and just kept it to himself. Ebisu patted him on the shoulder. You are doing an excellent job so far, Naruto. You have gotten down quite a bit in these last few days. I am sure you will learn this by the end of this month of training. Naruto appreciated the encouraging words, smiling at the Chunin standing at his side under the tree. Thanks sensei. Just a little frustrated, is all. I'll definitely get this down. Very good. Alright, the next thing we will do is do something you will find a little more interesting. Although it's not ninjutsu. Naruto slightly deflated. The thought of getting to something other than making shapes with dirt was exciting and he first thought it would be something practical, like ninjutsu. It seems like he was wrong. We shall get to it soon. Instead of ninjutsu, I will teach you how to actively use your element in close quarters combat, increasing your strength temporarily. Eh? What? The boy questioned, much interested again in what his teacher would be teaching him next. Chakra flow. This is the basics of chakra flow. Basically, this is a type of exercise that requires a substantial amount of chakra control. You are flowing chakra through certain objects like weaponry or ordinary objects. Ebisu grabbed out a kunai out his back pouch and channeled chakra through the metal. An aura cloaked the metal in a visible blue. Chakra flow non-elemental can last in objects for a very long time. However, it can get more complicated when adding an element into it due to the volatility of all elements. Ebisu then paused again before Naruto watched the aura's blue turn red and flaming. Naruto whistled, finding the process fascinating. That's so cool, Dadabeo. Ebisu nodded. However, remember, this is all about controlling your chakra. If you cannot control it, you can end up doing damage to yourself and that is never a good thing. An element as volatile as fire can end up you getting burned if you do something wrong. Each element can do some sort of harm to you or the object you are flowing chakra inside of. So what does earth do if you have no control? I will show you. Ebisu stopped his fire chakra flow technique and returned his hands to a normal state. Grabbing the kunai with his left hand, Ebisu activated his chakra again, converted it to earth release chakra, and the kunai had an aura of particles of earth surrounding the metal blade. This is the correct version of the technique, the right amount of chakra flowing through an object. However, the wrong amount. Ebisu then did something to make the metal blade darken until it almost became black and Ebisu looked a little strained, like it became much harder to keep the weapon up in one hand. The item has become significantly heavier and much more denser, much like a rock. For a weapon, unless this is your intention, never do what I have done. Ebisu then flexed his hand and dropped the flow of chakra, turning the weapon back. Naruto watched it and saw big dents now in the metal, dents that were not there before. What happened? Too much earth chakra warped the metal into this state. The wrong amount of chakra will break the weapon and make it useless. Some weapons are more suited to channel this chakra, admittedly, but they too will strain under the force of your chakra if you use too much. And too little won't wield the results you want, right? Too little, and the chakra won't stand for a few seconds before dissipating. Ebisu responded, dropping the useless kunai in his hand to the ground. Thus, you must find enough to place in the item. Naturally, the size matters in this case. Small item requires a small amount chakra, and a large item demands a large amount of chakra. All of this is about chakra control, eh? Of course. You will find many of these exercises even increase your control. All this is to make you feel your chakra better. Have you not felt like it was easier to mold your chakra these days for any technique outside this exercises? Take a second and use an ninjutsu now. Use a kawarimi on this kunai I have on the floor. Ebisu cleared the way so Naruto could have plenty of space to perform the technique Ebisu asked him to use. Naruto stared at his item intensely and thought back to the amount of chakra he usually used to perform the kawarimi. Clapping his hands, Naruto generated that chakra in his body and then started contorting his fingers into hand seal shape. Tiger to boar to ox, then ox to dog, and finally finishing off with snake, Naruto succeeded in using the technique and shifted places with the kunai. The kunai bounced for a second before dropping down uselessly and Naruto found that he had used quite a bit of his chakra. It wasn't the most huge amount, but he felt it. Days of working with the smallest amount of chakra he could use made him more sensitive to it. How did it feel? Ebisu asked a teenage. But I felt like I used a lot of chakra than I intended to. Ebisu nodded as he was confirming something. Alright. Now, I want you to try it again. This time, use the most minuscule amount of chakra you can muster on it. Naruto nodded, again looking over to the discarded kunai and generated his chakra again with a soundless clap before performing the necessary seals again. He tried his best to generate the absolute smallest amount of chakra he possibly could and performed the kawarimi no jutsu again. He shifted places with the kunai, which dropped down to the ground in its original place, where Ebisu dropped it 2 minutes ago. This time, his chakra felt like it hadn't depleted at all. almost like it was a small, not easily noticeable tug of his chakra. It was many times weaker than what he used regularly when performing the Kawarimi on objects, people, or his clones. Yet, he had done it. It almost felt amazing, like he was waking up for the first time, or he learned something crucial in his life. He was starting to understand why these damnable chakra control exercises held merit. The more chakra he could use in battle or in a fight at his disposal, the better it was. No more wasting so much chakra using techniques. That was why the Cage Bunshin was so good for him. Instead of worrying chakra control, the clone technique automatic splitting of his chakra evenly helped him save chakra. While Kakashi-sensei had already said to him that his reserve of chakra was massive, even larger than the Sandaime Hokage himself. However, that didn't mean it was infinite, and Naruto had felt his chakra amount get quite low before. Not like he's ever been in a fight when he had to worry about that, but it still took quite a few days for him to retain back that lost portion of his chakra again. It felt amazing. Ebisu smiled, watching Naruto's eyes widen from his space across the training grounds. Noticed something interesting? That didn't feel like it cost so much anymore. Yes. Your control of your chakra has become much better. You now know how to not only shape and make your chakra move in ways you want it to move, you also know how much chakra to use in some of your techniques. I believe you can use even less chakra than what you used due to how huge your chakra amount is and how large your chakra pools are. Thus, Naruto figured, he was perfect for using the art of ninjutsu, which made Naruto absolutely giddy. He got this all down in a few weeks. In a few weeks. Who knows what he could do now? The possibilities were endless. This is awesome, sensei. I feel great. I'm ready for anything you throw at me. I can do it. I have little doubt whatever task I give you you will not try your hardest in. Naruto's enthusiasm rubbed off on Ebisu a large amount. We will do the chakra flow exercise. I shall give you a bit of kunai and shuriken to experiment on. Originally, this was my final exercise for you, but I thought of something much more difficult for you when it comes to making shapes. So, after this, more shaping exercises, and practicing compressing and expanding your chakra, we shall finally get to ninjutsu, right? Naruto nodded, accepting the 3 kunai Ebisu gave him. Putting down 2 of the kunai, Naruto then summoned 3 shadow clones, without hand seals, a new crowning achievement Naruto was proud of recently discovering. In doing this, the 1 kunai in Naruto's hand became 3 for 3 blonde boys to work on, making a total of 5. The awesome effect of the Cage Bunshin was whatever the user had on their person was whatever the clones had as well. More tools could be made, and the perfect thing was, each of the clones had their own weaponry to work with. Naruto grinned in excitement. There was no stopping him when he was charged like this. He was definitely going to kick ass in the Chunin exams. Naruto laid down, his body aching, and his muscles weak. His arms were sore, and he felt like he ran a triathlon with his legs. Tomorrow was resting day for him, so that would be good for him. A day to rest his aching muscles. So tomorrow, he would be doing something not pertaining to training. He had made quite a good bit of progress in only 2 weeks, it was all thanks to Ebisu-sensei. After several days of the man actually devoting his time to teach him, Naruto had to admit he was starting to warm up to Ebisu. Someone who he lumped up to be just like everyone else. People who disliked him just because of his bad circumstance, the title sensei for Ebisu was said less mockingly and more respectfully as he learned from Ebisu. Now, it even wasn't that annoying taking orders from him. The man always was there to teach him and help him with a technique Naruto had trouble with. Even if Ebisu was only here by Kakashi-sensei's instruction, the man had brought him up to speed about a lot of things. He even taught Naruto more than he ever learned from Kakashi-sensei. It helped also that Ebisu taught him something as cool and useful as his elemental affinity. At first, Naruto wasn't as stellar to hear that his element was earth. He was half expecting either fire release or lightning release to be his affinity. Instead, earth release was his affinity. It wasn't anything he was expecting. When he was first mastering how to use earth chakra, he kept thinking one thing: what did earth release techniques have to offer in terms of strength and usefulness? The answer? A lot. Earth release was by nature an equally offensive nature as it was defensive. According to his teacher Ebisu, earth release techniques could break the strongest of rock and also form a powerful shield, able to withstand the strongest of elemental and non-elemental techniques. Ergo, it was just as strong as it was durable, and Naruto could get behind that. Naruto liked versatility quite a bit, which is why the Cage Bunshin no Jutsu was his favorite, it was just tailored for him. He could make many of clones and not even break a sweat. Now, he was learning from Ebisu and that little Kawarimi exercise, he was finally getting why it was better to conserve chakra. His chakra was huge. Sensei stated his chakra pools were extremely larger than his and of anyone in this entire village. Naruto had chalked that up before as a sign to just simply being able to spam his shadow clones for his heart's content, but it was more than that. Because of his large pools of chakra, he could learn a ton of techniques and utilize them for a long time. Ninjutsu, therefore, was his forte, and he liked how he was doing with the Kage Bunshin now, could and would abuse the shit out of it. Naruto learned a Chunin level ninjutsu easily before, so what stopped him from picking up more? Not a damn thing. Ebisu sensei looked ready to teach him ninjutsu any day now. Perhaps when he got down the true basics of chakra flow. It didn't really seem all that hard. All this time, his teacher was getting Naruto to work diligently on his chakra control, so he wouldn't be wasting a shitload of chakra every time he called upon chakra for a technique, so chakra flow wouldn't take that long to learn. Naruto couldn't help it. He was super giddy. Neji was getting his ass kicked when Naruto sees him in battle, and that ass kicking extended to any potential opponent in the exams. Count on it. But that wasn't the real reason why the blonde boy was having trouble sleeping. No, another crucial thing even bigger than the pleasure of knowing the key to kicking Neji's ass was keeping him awake, thinking about it. Kakashi-sensei's question was again playing in his head. Every few days, he would go to sleep thinking about it, especially on restless nights like this. What is the point of these exams, Naruto? Think about it. He tried to think of the reason to himself in the days he wasn't trying or in his relaxation time. So far, he hadn't figured it out. Granted, he was busy with other things in his time, and the only time he could think about it was either on days off or when he was restless at night. Since he usually slept like a rock after training, that hadn't been many times when he was restless. So, what was the point of these exams? To become Chunin, right? That was the namesake of the exams. But, was there a secret thing beyond it? How could you become a Chunin if you didn't have a sizable amount of techniques at your disposal? How could you be a Chunin if you didn't have advanced techniques? At first, that's what Naruto thought, that all you had to have. Just beat everyone in your way and you would be able to become a Chunin, but now that he thought more deeply about it, that didn't make sense. So let's say he beat everyone in the tournament, did that mean him and maybe the runner-up of the exams would become a Chunin? That made little to no sense. It was strange to him to think of it in terms of math, but it helped quite a bit with the mystery. Thinking of it mathematically, if that statement above was true about only the winner of the tournament and the runner-up were able to become Chunin, and the tournament only took place twice a year, that meant only 4 genin rank ninja in the entire village were able to gain a Chunin promotion. That didn't make sense. If that was the case, then the village's ninja force would be pathetically small, and Naruto knew for a fact that that was not the case. Konohagakure was known for its extremely huge population, a population that eclipsed all of villages on the continent, to be exact. Konohagakure had a large bulk of capable genin, Chunin, and Chunin. Naruto couldn't even count how many new faces he's seen around the village. The village itself stretched out for miles. It was huge, even to 13-year-old Naruto Uzumaki. So how could 4 people of the village be chosen to become Chunin of the village? It made no sense at all. So it definitely had to be more than just having the power to kick everyone's butt in the exams. He thought back to what Ebisu sensei said a time 2 weeks ago as a guideline. Just because you have the fighting skills of a Chunin doesn't mean you actually deserve becoming a Chunin. Everybody has the potential to become a Chunin in the exams, but that doesn't mean they all can become one. The exams is much more than fighting. In order to become a Chunin, you must act like one and think like one. Thus, you must know what it is to be Chunin. Sometimes, there's more than one way than surviving a fight. So, you could be Chunin level in terms of strength and power, yet that didn't mean you deserve to be one, right? Power didn't mean anything if you weren't responsible with it, he learned a while ago. In order to become Chunin, you had to act like one. Think like one. Then, you can become one. So strength and techniques meant nothing if he couldn't think like one. He could try the exams many times if he wanted, but if he couldn't think like one, then he wouldn't be promoted to a Chunin. But how did you think like one? Naruto didn't have the slightest clue, and seeing how several of the shinobi he knew, who knew about Kakashi-sensei's question, was very privy about the information. They were very stingy with the knowledge. No, stingy wasn't the right word. They just didn't want to give him the answer. They wanted him to figure it out himself, but he could not, so he had to find someone else who could and was willing to give him that information he needed. They wanted him to think like a Chunin. Since he lacked the knowledge, he should seek it out, right? Find the knowledge himself, instead of just asking people who didn't want to exactly give him the information. However, it had to be from a source or someone who didn't have a clue of the question Kakashi asked, like the Hokage and Ebisu. With only one person in mind, Naruto smiled, figuring it out what to do. Time to see Iruka-sensei again. The next day it was evening time, and the sky's orange and purple was reflecting on such. It had been such a long day, a long, grueling day of one headache that just would not go away. Iruka Yumino had just gotten out of the academy, finishing his class's lesson. His head hurt so much, he was almost digging his index fingers in his temples to get rid of the pain. Today was long and tiring for the academy teacher. Dealing with a notorious troublemaker all day, Konohamaru Sarutobi, Iruka was ready to enjoy his evening at home. The boy had taken up pranking ever since he joined the village's ninja academy and it was really starting to get on his nerves. As was it for the other teachers in the ninja academy. Putting glue on his homeroom teacher's chair so he stuck to his seat after he sat down. Leaving smoke bombs to explode in the men's room dedicated solely to the teachers. It was all very annoying. Much to his amusement however, Konohamaru's pranks reminded him of a certain former blonde boy student of his, especially in the nature of them. Still Iruka, after a long day at work, was ready to go home, relax, and read his favorite book. Or he was, until he ran into last year's troublemaker, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto greeted him boisterous with a shout across the academy's schoolyard. "Yo. Iruka-sensei, sup?" Iruka shook his head in amusement, thinking, speak of the devil. "Hello, Naruto." He walked up to the boy, ruffing the blonde's hair. Seeing the boy's immediate pout, Iruka couldn't help but to chuckle. Naruto had a small gripe with people tugging with his hair. A pet peeve Iruka knew all too well and frankly, abused. Still, the Chunin was pleasantly surprised to see the yellow-haired genin. It had been quite some time since he last seen Naruto. He wondered how his little friend was doing. Even if his headache would probably persist being in Naruto's presence. "Naruto. It's been a while since I last seen you. What are you doing with your time?" "Nothing much, sensei." Naruto placed his arms behind his head, grinning up at his former academy teacher. "I'm really just training hard these days. I'm in the semi-finals in the Chunin exams. You know that, right?" Iruka nodded. "I know. I must say, I'm impressed. Looks like you got your work cut out for you. You have to fight Neji Hyuga after all." He graduated from the academy as the rookie of the year and is hailed to be quite the formidable genin in the village. Naruto's smile dimmed. "Yeah, I know. I'm still pretty sure I can kick his ass." Naruto clenched his fist. "I've been working 10 times harder than I ever have just to kick his ass this upcoming month." Iruka smiled encouragingly. "I know. You can do it, Naruto. I believe in you." Naruto grinned. It always felt nice to hear that from his former teacher. "So, hey, are you busy?" The ponytail-wearing teacher shook his head. "Looks like going home would have to wait. I'm off now. I'm guessing you want to eat ramen on a few hours." The blonde paused for a second to actually think it over before nodding. "That's cool, I guess, but originally, that wasn't what I was here for." Iruka rose an eyebrow for a second. The boy wasn't here for food. Naruto, even when he was a genin, took it upon himself to go and mooch off Iruka from time to time and getting him to buy him some lunch or dinner. "What's up then?" "I have a question, Iruka-sensei, and I thought, hey, since you're a Chunin, you can probably my question." Naruto explained. Naruto looked quite uncharacteristically stoic and ready to talk business. "What's your question?" "Sensei, what is like to be a Chunin?" Iruka's eyebrow rose once again. "Like, what are your responsibilities as a Chunin and what's the difference between Chunin and genin?" Well, Iruka put a finger on his chin, taken aback somewhat. Naruto never seemed all that interested in ranks before. The only rank the blonde-haired boy was really gunning for was Hokage. "That's actually a pretty astute question, Naruto. What brought this on?" Naruto bit his lip, wondering if telling Iruka-sensei the whole truth would get him the answers he needed. "Ebisu-sensei said that just because I beat Neji doesn't mean I'm guaranteed a promotion." "Ebisu? That's your sensei for the month?" Iruka was confused. Shouldn't Naruto's assigned Chunin-sensei be supervising his training? What happened to Kakashi-san? Naruto frowned slightly. "He's training Sasuke." Iruka nodded slowly, knowing the frown was a sign of irritation from the boy. He could see it on the youngster's face. Naruto then changed the subject, continuing the conversation. "So yeah, I'm wondering how can that be? How can I beat Neji and everyone else, yet not be allowed to become Chunin? Is Ebisu-sensei telling the truth or is he yanking my chain?" Iruka chuckled sagely, giving Naruto the distinction that Iruka was going to give him quite the long answer. "Well, Ebisu-san is right. You can win the entire tournament, but that doesn't mean you're Chunin material. Let me tell you a small story, Naruto. I had some sort of a rival at my second Chunin tournament. His name was Django. He was a powerful genin for his age and won the entire tournament. I even lost to him and I had been a genin much longer than him. In my match, I almost had him 3 times in a row. Thanks to his bloodline, however, he was able to withstand my attacks before I forfeited. I was still one of the genin in the Chunin exams promotion ceremony, rewarded a flak jacket, an honor he never received. Do you know why?" Naruto shook his head, allowing his teacher to say the answer. "Because I actually used my head. I had him on the rope several times and I showed that I had the ability to defeat him, even with his Kekai Genkai. Well, he relied solely on the Kekai Genkai. I used trickery, misdirection, and deceit to fight him. I fought like a Chunin. I thought like one. He instead fought like he had to win at all costs and nothing else mattered. He even almost picked a fight with the proctor after I backed down because I decided to forfeit. So the exams is about fighting and thinking like a Chunin. How can I do that? It's all about aptitude, Naruto. You must show that you have the aptitude to become one. You must think ahead, plan ahead, fight intelligently, and know your limits. The difference between a Chunin and a Genin is this. Responsibility. Chunin are the starting representatives for the village. Genin aren't. They follow their Chunin instructors until they make the next rank. To think like a Chunin, you have to use your brain. Do you know the most powerful weapon a ninja can have? Naruto thought for a second and answered, remembering a lesson he actually listened to Iruka-sensei say before. One he would for now on take to heart. The most powerful weapon a ninja could have is their mind. Iruka nodded, that's right. Nothing else. A person could have the strongest techniques in the world. However, if their enemy knows exactly how to counter it, it means nothing. This can be applied to everything. Fighting, sparring, and especially missions. No one wants an idiot on a mission with them or an incompetent ninja messing up something on it. What if this mission has great importance and that person screws up everything? It could not only end up bad for the people on the mission, but for the entire village as well. We're looking for people to lead the youth, not make it worse for them. Iruka gave Naruto a serious look. Chunin are sent on missions outside of the village and often have missions up to B rank, unlike the D or the uncommon C rank missions we have Genin go on. How can you be promoted if you don't show you have the responsibility to carry out missions far away from home? Remember what I told you a long time ago, Naruto. It was a pretty important lesson in class. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sensei, I barely was in your classes most of the time. I can't recall any of these so-called important lessons. Naruto, rightfully so, was hit on his head. Ouch, sensei. I was kidding. You idiot. You know damn well you weren't kidding. Iruka growled out. However, the older man calmed down and huffed. Sometimes, Naruto. You make someone want to sock you in your teeth sometimes. Haha, you still love me though, sensei. Iruka shook his head. What am I going to do with you, Naruto? He regained his composure, clearing his throat. The structure of a village's shinobi system, do you remember it? Re-jog your memory. Naruto raised an eyebrow, wondering why his teacher was asking such an easy question. Of course, Iruka-sensei. The structure of the village is all based on ninja rank. Genin, Chunin, Junin, Kage. Rank-wise, the Kage is on top of the pecking order and Genin are on the bottom, right? Iruka nodded. There's a reason for that. Rank is important and it holds a title and a responsibility. Genin lead villagers. Chunin lead Genin and the villagers. Junin lead everyone under them. Finally, a Kage leads all in the village. Each title represents something. The brown-haired Chunin folded his arms. The word Genin is equivalent to the word potential, then Chunin represents responsibility, then Junin represents wisdom, and finally, Kage represents ruler for obvious reasons. You are at the Genin stage. You have the potential to do anything you want to do. Everybody around your age does. When you started out in the academy, you were still a villager, you were at a blank slate. Now that you've been Genin for a few months, you paved your own way to what you want to do in life. Thus, potential. So, if I'm at the stage of potential, how do I get to the next level? Naruto asked. The next rank requires something else. Now, you need to be responsible. You need to show you're competent for the job. You need to show you have aptitude in what you do. You need to show that you're best at what you do, and you only. This goes for the exams as well. So wait, the Chunin exams are nothing but show-off contests, talent contests. Naruto said thoughtfully. Iruka paused, but nodded. In a way, yeah. Think about it. The first stage tested your mind, the second tested your body, and now, the third stage is testing both. In all of those tests, you have people watching you. Watching your skills, watching how you act. You need to show you can think and fight at the same time. You need to show what you can do. Matches are nothing more than to give you a chance to display your skills. The more matches you have, the more you can show off your skills, but you don't need to actually win your first fight in order to become a Chunin. It's basically a free get of jail card for any match you lose. So as long as you show what you can do, you'll pass. Holy crap. Naruto uttered, widening his eyes in realization. The answer to Kakashi-sensei's question was there all along. I just got to show off all my stuff. Naruto loudly finished with a large smile. A little too excitable for Iruka's tastes. You also need to know your limits, Naruto. Iruka emphasized, a small frown on his face. Naruto was a hard-working shinobi, but Iruka knew that the boy could go overboard sometimes. Remember that as well. Responsibility entails using your skills in the right way, not overstepping your boundaries. We don't need more cannon fodder ninja in battle who die because they didn't know when to stop. Since every ninja adhere to their leader's orders, you must be ready to do the same. When you know you can't do much else, you stop. When we tell you to stop, you stop. Naruto nodded, digesting all of his information. Okay, I get it now. So in order for me to become a Chunin, I have to show that I can think and fight like one. Show my strengths, outthink my opponent, fight hard but know my limits. Okay, I think I got it. Good. Iruka nodded back, grinning at his former student. I think you got this as well. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. No problem. Iruka smiled at his former student. He then rubbed his head in a sheepish manner. You know, I'm actually surprised you came to see me. Naruto looked at the older man confused. Why wouldn't I? You were the best person to come to. You're a Chunin, I knew you for a long time now, you have experience being one, and you were willing to tell me the answer to my question. The brown-haired man chuckled, shaking his head. I didn't tell you the answer. You figured it out on your own with the information I provided. Another thing about being a Chunin. You were responsible and honest enough to know that your knowledge about the exams was lacking, so you sought out a source that can help you out with finding the answer. If I didn't do it, you would have just went to a library and found the book that has the answer to your question inside it. Iruka patted Naruto's shoulder. You're thinking like a Chunin now. Good job. I think you'll do fine in the exams in 2 weeks. Naruto beamed up at his teacher older brother figure. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. You're the best. So I'm told. Iruka grinned back at his former student. Now, how about some raiment since you're here? Okay, sensei, but I'm paying since you helped me. Surprised again by his former student, Iruka shrugged off his shock and decided on putting on a smile. Lead the way. After discovering what he had to do in order to get promoted after the Chunin exams, Naruto continued his training with Ebisu with a new vigor. When he told his teacher the answer to Kakashi Haddock's question, Ebisu smiled and gave him a pat on the shoulder. 3 days later, after training more and more with mastering the basics of using his earth-attuned chakra, Ebisu had finally announced to Naruto that they were starting on learning ninjutsu. This came to Naruto's joy as he grinned excitedly. The blonde-haired teen wanted to jump around and cheer boisterous, but contained it and let the man instruct him on the first technique he was going to learn. Today, we are going to work on a technique that I believe you will find not only invaluable in your battle against Neji Hyuga, but in your entire career as well. This earth release technique is a very popularly used one and has great application in combat. Today, I will teach you the Doten Maguragakur no Jutsu. Ebisu then closed his eyes in concentration before using his chakra and seeping it into the ground. Naruto didn't see or sense it, but got the idea of what was happening when Ebisu started sinking into the ground. Like Naruto had learned before, Ebisu was changing the properties of the ground from soft dirt to even softer dirt and then sunk into it, creating a hole. Ebisu disappeared into the ground, leaving Naruto by himself. Then interestingly enough, the dirt hole his temporary teacher left patched itself back up. It was something interesting to Naruto indeed. Not a thing or shred of evidence Ebisu-sensei ever being where he once stood was left. After some time, Naruto didn't hear anything. Nothing at all. He was thinking the man would be digging underground after seeing his little demonstration, but Naruto didn't see the man come back up the surface. Then Naruto was scared out of his wits when Ebisu tapped his shoulder from behind, jumping up comically. Geez, sensei. A little warning next time. The man shook his head, chuckling. Afraid, Naruto-kun. Yes, this is the technique. Can you tell me what you have observed from it? Naruto calmed down and shrugged. Sure. It seems like you used your chakra to turn the dirt softer and went underground. I'm guessing you also spread your chakra underground and turned it soft enough so you can dig through it. There's no way you could have dug simply with your hands. It would take too long to dig through all that crap without chakra. Ah yes. The first part of my demonstration, admittedly, that is not quite the part of the technique, but you have gotten the gist of the technique itself. I use my chakra to make the soil under turn into a fine sand and move through it, digging much like a mole would. Hence the name of the technique. So, yes, I used my chakra to turn it softer and softer as I actively move through the earth. Naruto frowned slightly in thought. So how do you exactly know where you're going with this technique? It wouldn't be useful of a technique if you're digging underground blind. Ebisu grinned, satisfied Naruto asked the question. I shall show you again. Naruto-kun, I want you to move around to a random location in this training grounds. Do not tell me the location of where you are moving, just move to a simple place. Also, for the sake of simplicity, do not go up a tree, okay? Wait until I go underground for this. Naruto nodded and watched Ebisu tunnel underground again. As quietly and quickly as he could, he moved to a location and stood. It was a place close to a small patch of flowers in the training field, near a large gray boulder. Naruto waited patiently before he was greeted with an Ebisu-sensei that appeared in front of him. Naruto looked spooked again, surprised the man was able to find him with no effort at all. How the heck did you do that? The technique has a secondary effect. It can sense the magnetic fields and give me not only a clue where I am at, but what's happening on the surface and where you are at. Holy crap. That's awesome. Indeed. Ebisu nodded. This technique takes no sort of hand seals to do, simply knowing how to control your chakra consistently. I will show you the technique I used before to create the hole I used to burrow underground with, and then I shall show you how to use the Maguragakure no Jutsu itself. Naruto smirked. Let's do this. Okay. First, seed your chakra to the ground and let it seep through. Try to use your feet for this exercise. Then, push your chakra through the ground and soften the dirt enough so you can seep through it. Use enough chakra to make a difference in the dirt, but do not use a great amount of chakra to make a huge hole. Only make so much so you can make a hole big enough to allow you through. This technique is only as useful as it used stealthily. Otherwise, you are a sitting duck. We shall work on this technique first before we go on and do the Maguragakure no Jutsu. And work on it, they did. An hour in, and Naruto, thanks to the help with 3 shadow clones on the side, figured out the secret of creating a hole with his chakra. After one dispelled after figuring out the answer, Naruto approached the exercise differently than he was doing. Naruto imagined making a circle with his chakra, spinning it slowly before it became a perfect 360-degree circle. Then sunk his chakra more and more into the ground until Naruto felt himself sinking into the ground. Then, Naruto made a sizable hole for himself. Before he sunk all the way underground and therefore had no access to hand seals, he made another clone to replace the one that dispelled before, and they followed suit and made a hole. All of them were underground in a matter of time. Ebisu nodded and walked to the hole Naruto was in. Second, I will show you how to cover the hole. Channel your chakra into the wall of the dirt hole you create and then move the chakra to cover the hole itself. Naruto took a bit of time to get what was instructed of him, but with experimentation from him and his clones, he gotten it, and now the light of the day was gone. He could now only hear Ebisu's voice. Man, it's fucking dark down here, sensei. The underground usually has no candlelights to guide you, Naruto-kun. Came the deadpan response from Naruto's teacher. Now, we shall work on the Maguragakure no Jutsu. You shall use the magnetic fields to help you find where you are, then your clones, and then me. Channel chakra into the dirt, change it to sand, and spread it around where you are, then when you get it, move. Naruto nodded to himself before closing his eyes in concentration. Since he didn't have enough room to raise a hand, he should have made a large hole, he lamented to himself. He would have to use his body itself to place chakra to the dirt wall in front of him, and that was a little more harder than simply using his hands. His hands was the most used place of concentrating his chakra after all. Nevertheless, Naruto gotten it down, and with his teacher's instruction, moved slightly in the sand turned dirt and dug with his hands and feet. Okay, where are you? Ebisu yelled. It was probably the only way Naruto could hear him. Naruto definitely couldn't see him. Naruto kept his eyes closed and focused on sensing above the earth surface. I am by a tree with a long cut in, sensei. A few steps in front of me. Naruto yelled back. Where are your clones? One clone's in the front of the forest tree I was talking about, directly in front of me. Another clone is more to my left, nearby a stream of water, and the last clone is nearby the entrance of the training grounds, sensei, in back of me. Ebisu then yelled again, and where am I? Naruto concentrated again for a brief moment. You're by a big boulder, a few meters to my right, sensei. Excellent. Naruto, you and your clones dig back above ground. Yes, sensei, Dadabeo. The original Naruto started digging diagonally up and pushed through until he was completely vertical and felt the earth above him soften so he can climb out. Naruto stopped channeling chakra into any part of his body lest he sink again and looked at his clones. The two nearby him raced over by him and grinned triumphantly while he did the same. The clone the most far out by the entrance of the large training grounds dispelled and Naruto was fed its memories. Splendid job, Naruto-kun. A little more work with the technique and I am sure you will find it very useful in the exams to come. Naruto grinned. It's cool. I think I'm going to like this. Yeah. A combination with his clone and he could see everything on the battlefield, both on ground and under it. Best thing was none of his opponents wouldn't have any sort of idea. The element of surprise was a powerful tool indeed. So, what next, sensei? You know, after I mess with this technique a little bit more, what is next? We have made excellent time in the short time of 2 weeks. You have worked on your chakra control quite a bit, learned how to walk on water, learned how the basics of molding earth chakra, the basics of chakra flow into items, and learned an earth ninjutsu. So, the next step will be to relax for today. Ebisu secretly enjoyed Naruto's following reaction. The boy tripped on something in the air and planted his face into the ground. Wait, what? Naruto yelled from the ground. I say we can take a small break from all of this, Naruto-kun. Especially today. It's not even lunchtime and you have done what I had planned you to practice all day. Good job. So wait, what am I supposed to do then? I want to learn more. Naruto started picking himself off the ground. There's nothing you're willing to teach me today. Nothing at all. Ebisu chuckled, looking over at Naruto's defiant stare. I did not say you could not learn something today, just not from me. We have been training straight for several days, from sunup to the evening itself. Honestly, my teaching energies are drained. Naruto had a feeling that was a lie. It's almost lunch anyway, if you had not noticed, Naruto-kun. Go eat something, maybe practice on your own, or better yet, go do something else for the day. Have you ever went to the library like I asked almost a week ago? Naruto grunted, admitting, no sensei. Then maybe it's time to brush up a little on your knowledge of the Byakugan. Naruto wanted to growl at his teacher, but it came out more like a whine. Fine. Naruto-kun. Ebisu then disappeared in instantaneous movement, a sign of the Shunshin no Jutsu. The common way a Chunin like to run away from a person. Naruto sighed dejectedly and picked up his belongings. At the moment, his stomach did growl at him, and Naruto knew the man caught him good. Lunch at Ramen Ichiraku again. There were 3 main libraries in Konohagakure. The first other one was the Konohagakure Archive Library, which a place had information on people of the village. The archive library stored profiles, documented history of past and current shinobi of the village, had sections dedicated to missing nin of the world that once belonged to Konohagakure, a station where they could pick up bingo books that contained information on blacklisted ninja, whether or not they were rogue shinobi, and information about several factions, minor civilian villages, countries, and hidden villages inside and outside Hai no Kuni. The library was built inside the Hokage Rock Monument Mountain, high and tucked away. Naruto never been there, but maybe it would come in handy when he went up in rank. Besides, he doubted he even had clearance to go up there. The second one was the more standard one, the Konoha Civilian Library, or simply the Konoha Library. It was a library open to the general public of Konoha. Centrally located in the heart of the village, the business section, general information involving simple books like how to cook or advanced books involving mathematics, medicine and health, economy, history or other subjects, belonged in this library. Generally, the library was visited mostly by civilians, but some shinobi, especially ones who were studying medicine and becoming the village's top doctors, visited the place. Naruto visited the library a few times in his life, but not very much. Besides learning how to cook on his own, and along other basic things that were good for anyone to know, Naruto felt he didn't need to go there. The final one was one Naruto felt he would be visiting more and more in the near future. The Konohagakure Shinobi Library was a tall library only allowed to shinobi of Konohagakure. No civilians was allowed in, neither were trainees in the academy or anyone without the right clearance. The reason? Because there was many things pertaining to shinobi, like how to use elemental chakra, inside that could potentially be dangerous to regular villagers. Ninjutsu, Jinjutsu, Taijutsu, Kinjutsu, if it was a ninja art, you would find it in this place. Naruto headed over to the Konohagakure Shinobi Library after his lunch. Naruto had to tell the people at the front desk of his registration number and show them his ID card. It had been his first time in the library and they gave him an ID card so he can further go inside and access the library's books without showing them his card every time. They also mentioned the card also upgraded when he rose up in ranks in the Konohagakure Ninja Force. Without their ID, Naruto would have to present his regular ID every time, and sometimes, Naruto didn't carry around the card in his village. He felt no need. The card was free, so Naruto saw no reason not to get it. Naruto was greeted by a librarian, some brunette female clerk at the front desk. She told him the general rules of the library in a bored tone, droning on as if she said this exact same speech every day working here to the newbies of the library. You can access the library for as long as you can, so as long as we're open. We are open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. from Monday-Friday. The weekends, we are closed. Due to your status as a genin, you are allowed on the first floor of the library. Do not go to the second or third floor of the library, those are reserved to Chunin and Chunin level shinobi. If you are found up there, you will be banned for the library for at least 6 months on your first offense. Second offense will cost you a year and a sizable fine. Third offense, you will no longer be allowed in this library. Do you understand? Naruto had really focused on the words "if you are found" and decided if he wanted to learn some elemental ninjutsu that were of a higher tier, he would have to sneak up there one day. Naruto nodded yes nevertheless to the girl's question, and she nodded herself. Then, she shooing him away and going back to her work. Reading some sort of orange book. He knew what it was, and he had half a mind to tell her why in the hell was she reading that pervy book, Icha, when she should probably be working on other things, but Naruto let it go. Naruto rolled his eyes at the action and went about his merry way, going deeper into the library, though Naruto was in no real hurry. Books and him never really clicked. He hated reading, writing, and anything pertaining to a book. Still, the place had its uses, and since it housed information about techniques ranging from all ranks, it was useful. However, since he was a genin, that gave him access to low-rank techniques. Normal genin didn't have access to A or B rank techniques right off the back or couldn't perform them because of the lack of chakra, knowledge, or experience with them. Technically speaking, he wasn't supposed to know a technique like the Cage Bunshin anyway since the technique and its Kenjutsu variant was in the Scroll of Seals, the scroll he stole that night when he failed the graduation exam out of his academy. However, since he had already astounding chakra levels, he could use his favorite ninjutsu effectively. Even more than that, learning elemental ninjutsu like Earth Release was an art most genin his age didn't even dabble into, focusing on learning advanced chakra control exercises instead. If he wanted to learn more stuff, he probably would have to learn it somewhere else, like his teacher. However, all of that wasn't his intention today. The place wasn't just a place that had info about normal techniques. It had information about Kekkei Genkai, and more importantly, it housed information about ninjutsu such as the Byakugan. That was his mission. Find more about the Byakugan his opponent would be wielding. Naruto wandered and wandered, looking up the B section of the first floor of the library, and moved his eyes from many books. Spelling out Byakugan in his head, he seen several books first starting with Byakugan as its title. He started humming a jaunty tune, taking his time trying to find the book as he seen others either walk past him from outside the aisles. Finding the book Byakugan. The all-seeing eye and taking it off the shelf, Naruto scrubbed the book once of some dust before move out of the aisle. Doing that got him to run into someone he knew. Naruto. You're here. Naruto looked at the person and raised an eyebrow for a second. Then, he grinned. Oh, hey Shikamaru. Funny running into you well, literally. Shikamaru didn't acknowledge the tasteless pun and rose his own eyebrow at Naruto. What are you doing here? This is a library usually people are here to read. And I am too. I'm looking for a book to read. I see you came here specially to just antagonize me. Naruto deadpanned. Idiot. The Nara boy lazily drawled while rubbing the shoulder Naruto bumped into. I'm here looking for a book for Chinjai. Guy asked seeing I was coming here originally to return a book. Naruto nodded before returning to scan the books on the wall. This is my first time in here. I was looking for a book on Kekkei Genkai. Bloodlines. Why are you looking for that? I have an opponent who's has a ninjutsu, duh. Naruto rolled his eyes. Why wouldn't I look up a book about Kekkei Genkai? The dark-haired boy next to him in the aisle shook his head at the blonde. You sure as hell pick a good time looking for something to beat Neji with, Naruto. The Chunin exam semi-finals is starting in less than 2 weeks. How are you supposed to come up with anything that can counter it? Don't worry about me, Shikamaru. Naruto shot back cattily, a little annoyed at the normal lazy boy's attitude. Most of this conversation was either Shikamaru taking shots at Naruto's own abilities or insulting his intelligence. You should just worry about your own self. Your opponent can throw freaking tornadoes at you, I suggest you learn how to dodge them. Troublesome. I'll stop teasing you and leave you alone. Later. As Naruto saw the boy leave, an idea popped in his head. Hey Shikamaru. Yeah? Do you have some information about the Byakugan that I can use? Didn't hurt asking about it, especially when he knew the Nara boy was much smarter than he let on. Nothing I can think of. Sorry. I got to go anyway and pick up this cookbook for Chinjai anyway. Wait. Naruto yelled and got hushed by people in his aisle and some others nearby. Sorry. He called back, only to get hushed again. The boy grumbled and with a more quieter voice, said, dude, just help a friend out. If I had info, I would tell you about the Suna chick you got to fight in the exams. Can't you help a fellow Leafnin out? Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Don't pull the friend card, Naruto. We barely talked in the academy, let alone our friends. Naruto narrowed his blue eyes at the guy before sighing dejectedly. Fine. I guess I'll figure it out myself. Shikamaru paused, seeing Naruto's face, before sighing in guilt. Fine. I'll tell you all I know about the darn Byakugan. Okay. Naruto's face immediately perked up, a triumphing smile on his face. Great. Thanks Shika. Keep your voice down, loudmouth. The Nara groaned, knowing he had been conned by the sad act by Naruto. And who told you that you can call my Shika? Bah. Damn. Whatever. Alright, so the Byakugan. It's a pearly white seeing eye technique that is in the possession of all Hyuga clansmen and women. You know the basics. The ninjutsu allows the user to see through solid objects, have a near 360 degrees field of vision, see through several disguising techniques, have telescopic-like range of sight, and the ability to see chakra flow. This makes these people great trackers and strong opponents. They also are natural counters for Jinjutsu and several ninjutsu as well. Naruto nodded, already knowing most of this information from Ebisu-sensei. Anything else I should know? Well, if you're expecting to fight Neji using a frontal approach, then you're going to lose fast. Charging in on a Hyuga using simple taijutsu is suicide. Keep your distance of course. That's what I would do, but I don't know if you got any techniques that are at a range. You strike me as a close range fighter really. Naruto didn't say anything, not willing to tell or brag Shikamaru about his new earth release technique. Even if a little part of him wanted to. Ebisu-sensei advised him not to reveal to anyone what he learned, outside them being the Hokage himself. Suppose his enemy was in the next aisle, listening in on him and Shikamaru's conversation. Neji was, after all, from the same village as them. Who knew where his opponent could be? Okay, no rushing in, and keep my distance. I figured as much. Nothing new. Your sensei told you all of this before. Seeing Shikamaru's colleague nod, the Nara sighed. So why the heck did you ask me? You might had info I didn't know. You were still useful and I confirmed what I know before. Thanks. I would tell you what I knew about that Suna chick, but you mean Tamari? Shikamaru grunted. I know enough. She's proficient in wind release techniques. Instead of keeping my distance, I need to actually be close to her, and that's not the style of combat I specialize in. The faster I put her down, the faster I win. Maybe even take away her fan, if I can imagine. Her fan? Yeah, she uses her wind attacks using that as a medium. Take that away, and it'll make it easier to deal with her. Yeah. Naruto grinned, encouragingly. You'll kick her ass. She's not that tough. The ponytail shinobi raised an eyebrow at his livelier colleague. She kicked Tenten's ass easy, and Tenten's whole team has much more experience as shinobi than our entire graduating class. She was the strongest kunoichi in the exams that's from our village. Naruto nodded his head. I guess you're right then. She will be tough. I definitely know that. She and her siblings, especially that Gaara guy, are not normal genin. Shikamaru rubbed his shoulder, shaking out some phantom pain. As if the thought of fighting the Sunagaker kids would be painful. Naruto wasn't all too sure about that puppeteer, Kankurum. He didn't really look like much, but Tamari, sure, and definitely Gaara. Gaara had no qualms about murdering people, just look at what he was going to do to Lee. Alright, I'm going to go now. I'll see you later. Stick to your studies, loudmouth. Maybe you'll find something else about the Byakugan that I don't know. Will do. And Shika. The boy once again turned around to address Naruto. Thanks again for the info, dude. We should hang some more. I'll think about that last thing. Shikamaru had a small grin on his face. Alright. Good luck in the exams, Naruto. You too. Naruto said back, watching his former classmate leave him with a wave. He then scratched his chin and closed his eyes in thought. Talking to Shikamaru got him thinking about what would happen if he had to fight other people, if he beat Neji in his first match. Lem, think about who's in the tournament. Let's think for a sec. So, it's me, Neji team, Shikamaru, that Tamari chick, that puppet guy Kankurum, creepy guy Shino, even creepier guy Gaara, and Sasuke team. If I beat Neji and Shikamaru beats Tamari, we fight, so I gotta know how to fight him. There's even a chance I have to fight the Tamari girl, which I hope not. I mean, I guess I got a strategy against her. I just got to think how I can get that darn fan away from her. This is more complicated than I thought. Then again, I could just try to fight in a few matches, show my skills, and just forfeit. Naruto shook his head, chuckling. Nah, screw that. I'm going to keep going until I can't go any further. Sasuke team's not going to quit, and neither am I. One day until the Chunin exams. Days were winding down, and the month was coming to an end. In a day, Naruto would be fighting Neji. He learned a few more earth release ninjutsu for his teacher. However, he came to realize that his techniques were more defensive and supplementary in nature, stuff that was more offensive. Naruto only learned 2 techniques. The first one was a C-rank earth release technique named Doten. Ishi no Kumu, which uprooted hardened pieces of the earth from the ground and dropped them down on the head of target or targets. Supposedly, more chakra fed to the technique and the larger the size of rocks became. Naruto hadn't tried it out because his target when using it was Ebisu-sensei and he was trying to get down how to plane using it anyway. The second technique was a technique he was practicing for the last few days trying to get down. Doten. Kengan no Jutsu. After applying a few hand seals and placing his arm in the ground, Naruto encased it with hardened stone, giving him the ability to strike at his opponents with a hardened punch. It was like a gauntlet made of rock itself. Naruto could do one of his arms or both. Granted, the downside of this technique made it nigh impossible to form hand seals correctly due to the rigid form of the rocks on his limbs. His arsenal of techniques that he knew how to use without hand seals was also pretty low, so that also was a problem. Nevertheless, it was still a good technique for him, fitting his close-range style of fighting quite a bit. The best technique Naruto managed to snag was the Doten. Maguragaker no Jutsu, hands down. Hiding underground was an amazing ability for a relatively low-ranking technique that took a very generous amount of chakra from him. It was incredibly surprising for people who didn't see it coming, and combined with his shadow clones, Naruto could completely control the flow of the battlefield most definitely. However, it wasn't offensive at all, which could be a problem for some of his potential opponents. Neji wasn't the only person Naruto had to worry about in the Chunin exams. Every other technique was not made to be offensive, but Ebisu-sensei assured him that when fighting Neji, it wouldn't matter, since the point of the battle was to make sure Neji never had the chance to touch him and to end it relatively quickly. Although they trained on hours on end getting Naruto a little more familiar with utilizing his earth element, Naruto noticed they spent much less time focusing on strategies on beating Neji. It took him a little bit to realize that, hey, Neji isn't going to be only guy you're fighting in the Chunin exams, Dumbo. Instead, they came up with a bit of strategies for everyone Naruto could possibly fight in the exams. Neji. Take him down as quickly as you could and disable his ability to use his chakra. If he lacked that, Neji would fall. Not to mention his clones would be key in the match, as will his new abilities in Earth release. Tamari. Take away her fan and fight her that way. Tamari made a showing in the last part of the exams to stay away from her opponent, giving her room to shoot off waves and funnels of wind. As Shikamaru added when Naruto last talked to him, a big strong piece of info Shikamaru had given out was Tamari's reliance on her fan to use wind release techniques, perhaps over-reliance on her fan. That could work in his favor if he somehow found a way to get her to stop using it. Pankram. Almost the same as Tamari. If you could make sure he couldn't use his puppet, he would be just as helpless in battle. Shikamaru. Make sure you got in closely, but watch your surroundings and do not rely heavily on using the Doten. Megurika no Jutsu. Sensei explained that Shikamaru could extend his shadows to great heights in complete darkness, as the hole made. In battle, Naruto will be quite hard-pressed to cover up the holes he made when he used the Doten. Megurika no Jutsu. If Shikamaru could see where Naruto was tunneling at, extended his shadow to the hole, he could completely immobilize Naruto underground. Instead, Naruto had to make sure he got a good hit on Shikamaru and put him down for the count. Using shadow clones without hand seals might also be a good thing for him should he get pinned down by the Nara's shadow hole technique. Shino. Fight him and overwhelm him with sheer stamina. Shino could immobilize his opponents using his bugs to drain his chakra. However, those bugs could absorb only so much and Shino could summon only so much. Shino, like Tamari, Kankram and Shikamaru, liked fighting at a distance, so he needed to get in and fight him. Unlike them, however, Ebisu-sensei insisted that he didn't worry about Shino restricting his movements because Naruto had too much chakra to absorb. Sasuke. Knock him out quickly. Ebisu-sensei had based Sasuke's skills as a prior showing at the Chunin exams preliminaries as he excelled in close-range combat, combining his skills into Jutsu, Kaiten Ninjutsu, Shuriken Jutsu, and his bloodline, the Sharingan, which worked on predicting body movements of the opponent. The strategy for fighting Sasuke was still in the process of being constructed. Sasuke definitely gotten stronger in the month where he was being focused on by Kakashi-sensei. Ebisu-sensei stated Naruto would have to get more information about Sasuke when Naruto watched him in battle against Gaara. However, there was a big thing Naruto caught on about that one. Ebisu-sensei spoke in a tone that Naruto didn't have to worry too much about Sasuke. However, it wasn't because Ebisu sounded confident in Naruto being able to defeat his teammate rival. It was because Ebisu sounded like Sasuke was going to lose to Gaara from the jump. Every time he mentioned a scenario where it would be him versus Sasuke in the exams, he would start by saying if Sasuke made it that far in the tournament. It was a very little detail that Naruto caught on, especially when Naruto asked a few times about fighting Sasuke. So, what? That meant Gaara was stronger than Sasuke? No way. Now, granted, Gaara was strong, definitely. The Redeed from Sunagakur managed to defeat Rock Lee, one of the strongest and fastest Jujutsu users he have ever seen, in the exams. Full out, Rock Lee had been faster than that bastard Neji, the Mudkiba and Sasuke team, who were already fast in their own right. Rock Lee had proven that so as long as the person was fast enough, they could get past Gaara's supposed absolute defense. However, Gaara's mighty defense and sand kinetic abilities proved to get the best out of Rock Lee in the end and ended up almost killing Lee in the end, with the boy still recovering in the hospital. Even after being hit by Lee in that devastating Taijutsu attack, even after Lee thrashing his ass around several times, Gaara had still came up on top and was still in the tournament. Which led to the final possible matchup in the tournament. Naruto versus Gaara. Ebisu had stated quite simply to him. If you cannot find a way to get past his sand, forfeit the match. Which prompted Naruto to, when told that initially, to get slightly annoyed. Ebisu-sensei then calmly shook his head and explained to him afterward. Gaara's sand prevents him from getting hurt from anything, even when he himself does not see the attack coming. It almost thinks on its own. Gaara's main method of attack is to capture his opponents in his sand and then crush them. Close-range combat is out of this one and you lack anything sort of mid-range or long-range attack. He also can use his sand to create attacks for all ranges as well. Your earth ninjutsu cannot do much to him. You must understand that fighting him will do you no good, Naruto. If you want to become a Chunin, you must remember that sometimes it is better to retreat when you know you cannot win, to survive another day. And after calming down and mulling it over, Ebisu was right on all accounts. Gaara could defeat one of the most strongest genin in Konohagakure he's come to know in the past month. Rock Lee. Lee was also the fastest one as well. Naruto and Ebisu worked on his ninjutsu, some of his taijutsu, and mostly on his chakra control in these weeks. Hell, they even spent a few days working on hand seal speed because Ebisu personally found Naruto's speed with hand seals to be almost insulting. Speed was a little different and it took a while to refine that. Yes, Naruto felt a little faster in his time of training with Ebisu, especially when they sparred, but Naruto was far from the level of Rock Lee and was still behind Neji and Sasuke in terms of speed as well. So Naruto decided that it was the right call to forfeit in case he didn't find a way to defeat Gaara so he could avoid getting hurt. However, that didn't mean Naruto wouldn't try. He would try because there was no way he would give up so easily against that guy. That just wasn't his style, Dadabeo. Still though, Naruto had hopes in his teammate, Sasuke, to kick Gaara's ass and defeat him before Naruto had to worry about the Chunin. He had more hope in Sasuke than Ebisu-sensei, definitely. Besides all the mulling over the Chunin exams, Naruto found himself having the training sessions every day last less and less. Ebisu-sensei stated that Naruto had been taught everything the Takubetsu Chunin wanted to teach him this month. All that was left to do was further refining of the techniques Naruto had been given and some more small things like working on Naruto's hand seals. Everything else Naruto personally wanted to was to be done on his own time. So training lasted from approximately 7 AM to 10 PM before Ebisu left out to enjoy his day and telling Naruto to enjoy his. Today, for at least 1 hour, Naruto had trained for a bit on his own in a public training grounds. However, he found himself not doing much except a bit exercise practicing his earth chakra and applying earth chakra to a few of his weaponry. Other than that, Naruto hadn't done much nor accomplished any sort of new feat. Disappointed a bit, Naruto found himself instead of training wandering back to the village, slowly trekking out the training grounds. It looked like there wasn't much else to do today. Naruto did what he usually did when he was bored. He wandered the village, looking for stuff to do. Naruto found himself in a shop. A little thing that was mostly out of the way from the usual places in the shopping district of Konohagakure. Frankly, not too crazy of a place, but that was fine with him. Usually, the big stores had people that were far from likable for his taste. The usual stink on how he was a demon child this and bad kid that. Before, years ago, that would have affected him, but now, it was like an annoying little thing that kept bother him. The guy behind the clerk's counter, a tall man with a black, scruffy beard and not much hair on his head, didn't shoot him a glare at all and nodded towards him, but other than that, didn't say or do anything that showed how he felt. Naruto thought it was refreshing nonetheless and nodded back. The shop didn't specialize in selling ninja weaponry, so you wouldn't find kunai, shuriken, swords, exploding tags, sealing paper, etc. Instead, it simply was for ninja attire. You would find bandages, scarves, pants, t-shirts, sandals of different colors, and even different colored forehead protectors. The protectors were situated behind where the cashier and his register was at. Of course, this store only sold those protectors to people who were ninjas. Best way to show you were a shinobi was wearing your own standard blue forehead protector the academy gave you. They had jackets too, ninja-styled guy in colors of white, navy blue, dark red, and black, fishnet shirts, and vests. They had a lot of stuff on racks that Naruto could spend hours looking through and he was no fashionista. He just liked shit he liked. Looking at all had an effect on Naruto. The genin took a second to inspect his own jacket and pants and found his favorite combination of orange and blue had a lot of wear and tear upon it. Holes, shallow cuts and slashes painted his orange-blue jacket all around and his pants were almost no different. All of them came from older missions, especially from the mission back in Nami no Kuni and the fighting in the first half of the Chunin exams. Pretty soon, he would have to get rid of his jacket anyway, he could see some of the inner cotton come out, which saddened him a little. He got the jacket as a gift to himself when he turned 11 and had it ever since. He quite loved the jacket despite people disliking it. Not like he gave a fuck what they thought anyway. Naruto shrugged. Who knows? Maybe I'll find something like my current jacket here. So Naruto decided to shop for things orange and blue. Fortunately, he found some blue. Unfortunately, there was little to nothing that was orange and all of them were t-shirts and stuff like that. He was looking for a jacket that was like his. If it was an exact copy, he would be even happier with it. The more time progressed, he didn't see anything like his jacket. There was a whole lot of blue, dark green, and black however. Some of them, he admitted, looked good, but he was determined to find something with orange on it something. Naruto took so long finding things, the clerk from behind the desk came by and asked him if he needed some help. Naruto drew a breath he was holding in. Do you guys have orange-colored jackets like the one I have on? The clerk started with, scratching his scruffy chin. To be honest, kid, not many ninjas these days rock orange at all. Not exactly the most inconspicuous color, if I say myself. I doubt you're going to find anything orange in this shop. Ah, I see. Naruto trailed off, thinking about leaving the store. Then again, he was checking the prices on the jackets and clothing he's seen, and the prices were looking nice. He already still had some pay left from the A rank mission in Nami no Kuni still, and the D ranks his team took on a little bit afterward. But, I think you should keep looking. You might find something with orange on it, just not a jacket primary orange though. If anything, we do have red jackets. That's the most closest thing to orange I can think of. The clerk shrugged. Naruto nodded, noting that in his head. Thanks, I'll check around. The guy gave Naruto a friendly smile before returning back to his place in the store, behind the cash register. Naruto meanwhile decided that he might not be able to find orange here, so maybe he should look for other colors. He liked black and blue, wasn't against red, green, or white, and hated anything that looked girly. In his mind, he figured purple, yellow, and pink to be the girly colors like any 13-year-old boy. He wanted to look cool. He found something closely resembling his orange and blue jacket. A red jacket with black on the shoulder parts, but no white tassels or collar. It was even missing the red swirl that he liked strangely on the things he usually brought. Still, it closely resembled his current jacket, and since he didn't see anything orange at all at this point, his options were limited. Just as he was reaching for the red jacket, he saw something else and dropped it altogether. It was a mostly black jacket with a dark orange collar. Its orange collar then connected to an orange middle, and the bottom of the jacket was orange also. On the left shoulder, a red swirl that he always associated with Konoha stood pronounced, and it reminded him a lot of the red swirl crest that was on his current jacket. Out of curiosity, he inspected the jacket some more and found the jacket's inner lining was orange and was delighted to see so. The jacket was a 3-in-1 combination because it also came with a set of fingerless black gloves and matching pants that had an orange inner lining like the jacket. He imagined himself with the jacket on, folding up the sleeves of the jacket and the bottom of the pants, and he would have that dash of orange like he wanted it. It would be perfect. Taking the jacket with him to a fitting room nearby, he discarded his beat-up orange jacket and took off the orange pants he had on and put on the black ones. He liked it a lot, enjoying how it felt on him. The orange jacket was a lot bulkier than the black one, as the black one was more tailored to his actual size and hugged him better. The black gloves were cool too, and if he didn't want to put them on, he could always leave them at home somewhere. However, he was feeling with all this black on, his forehead protector and sandals both blue was looking out of place. Time for a new pair of sandals and a protector then. Naruto commented to himself with a smile. He quickly took off the new jacket and pants and put back on the clothing he came in the store with. He left the room, walked to the shoes section, and grabbed himself a pair of black sandals in his size. Naruto approached the counter where the clerk was. "Excuse me, but can I get a black forehead protector from in back of you?" "Sure, finally got a style you like, huh, kid?" The clerk grabbed 2 forehead protectors for Naruto to choose from. Now, a short style bandana, medium, or long. Long. Naruto was liking how the long one looked. The clerk nodded and put the protector of Naruto's choice onto of the jacket and pants. "Anything else?" Naruto shook his head. "I'm good, how much?" After paying, Naruto decided that he was going to wear his new clothing outside and return to the fitting room. Placing the old jacket, pants, forehead protector and sandals into the bag his new clothing was supposed to be inside, he left the shop feeling good. The day of the Chunin exams, the crowd was alive, shouting for matches to come. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, of people were here, filling the stadium from all sides. Naruto, dressed in his new outfit, felt a little nervous. So many people's eyes were on him today, so many would be judging. It was at that moment he knew that he would either do himself and everyone he knew proud or prove that he still was the weakest genin in the group. For years, he had been mocked and vilified by his own classmates, most of the people he would call friends because of his grades and slacking off in school. But it had been just about half of a year since then now. Things changed, and so did he. They didn't know about what he went through to get here, the hardships he faced to just do so. 1 month to shape up or lose in the first round. He wouldn't be losing to anyone today. He counted on it. He would not only be doing this to shut Neji up and avenge Hinata, but to avenge his own self. He was out here to prove that he improved and he was worthy of respect. So, come Neji, come Temari, Shikamaru, Sasuke, Gaara or anyone else he had to fight. Naruto Uzumaki would beat them all the same. The contestants all were down here, allowing the crowd to see them. Naruto stood nearby his opponent, Neji, and even here, he could feel his blood boil for this guy. He was the same type of asshole that needed a good ass kicking to show him the way. Naruto should know, of course, because he was once that type of asshole. However, training with Ebisu sensei opened up Naruto's eyes quite a bit. Naruto had much to learn, so much so. He had no more time to act like a kid to do anything of that. He had to grow up and become that legendary shinobi he saw in his dreams. Naruto could barely hear the proctor call his name as the rest of the contestants are no longer in the arena. Neji and him separate, he's on one side and Naruto is on the other. Neji is already in his family's fighting style, while Naruto moves to a more looser stance. He remembered what he had to do and it didn't involve thinking he was going to fight Neji head on. For what seemed like a while of just staring at each other, Neji was the first to say something. "That's a nice newer outfit than the clown outfit you had on last month, Uzumaki. You should have not bought it, it's just only going to end up ripped and tattered." Naruto snorted. "Like you're going to be able to touch me, guy. I assure you, it won't be hard. I know how much of a loser you really are. You're a slacker who barely graduated from his class, who won against his opponent by farting in his face. How you've gotten here was based on sure luck, nothing more. For people like you or Hinata or anyone who hasn't been born into the greatness, there's only one place you'll be. In second. It is your fate to be so." For a second, Naruto felt rage into his body. How dare this self-absorbed, senseless prick who spewed nothing but that fate shit out his mouth talk about his cousin like that. He was used to people talking shit about him, but not people like Hinata. She didn't deserve that at all, or the beating Neji gave her last month. For a second, Naruto was about to shout back in answer in anger, let his rage get the best of him. However, he took a second to let the word settle in. After a bit, he realized what this was. Neji tried this before against Hinata, and he saw right through it. Neji was one of those guys who had to hurl insults at people just to make them more sloppier. He liked to discourage or anger people, and then when they made a mistake, Neji would swoop in and beat them. It almost worked on Hinata had Naruto not told her to stand up, and although she lost, she fought harder to prove him wrong. Naruto had seen the fire in that girl's pearl eyes, and it spoke something to Naruto. Hinata was a lot like Naruto. Both were mocked and teased because of their ways. Hinata was the meek, shy kid, and Naruto was the loudmouth who didn't seem to stop getting in trouble. People like Neji liked picking on them because they seemed like easy targets and had their own heads shoved so far up their asses that the shit fumes started confusing them and they started believing in the crap they were spewing. They thought they were superior, unbeatable. But they were far from it. They were just bullies, and bullies wouldn't stop bothering their victims until their victims stood up and knocked their fucking lights out. Naruto would do so, shape this anger he felt inside into energy he could use to show the world he was no longer that dumb kid from 6 months ago who relied too much on luck and less on actual skill. Neji had planned for this. To come in battle, nose high, sneer deep, teeth bared. A few insulting words would aid him, their purpose to make Naruto get worked up and to make the Uzumaki make a few slip-ups to make him lose the match faster. Naruto knew really what Neji was pulling. Mind games, and Naruto would not be playing it. "So you came to talk down on me, or actually fight me? How long have you been out the academy? A year and some change, and you're still on that kid shit. You best worry about fighting me serious, Neji. I heard all that stuff all before." Prodigy or not, Neji was not leaving here without a knot knocked upside his head. Neji just smirked at the Uzumaki and wordlessly activated his cleansed Ninjutsu, the Byakugan. The proctor had gave his consent to start the match, and already Naruto had started the plan. His hands went up to use his favorite technique. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Neji had seen the move and was waiting for them to be summoned. Much to his surprise, he saw nothing and Naruto put his hands down. Neji had seen the surge of chakra inside Naruto's body but seen nothing, nothing at all. Something did not sit well in Neji's stomach, he kept his guard up. Next thing he knows, he's barely blocking a strike from his left from his blonde-haired opponent. Neji didn't take time wondering how the hell did the Uzumaki manage to make a shadow clone without him and instead attempted to counter, slamming a palm into the clone's head. The clone went up in smoke, blowing away from Neji. The Hyuga smirked over at the Naruto original who kept standing there, it was a foolish attempt to. He didn't finish his sentence when he saw rocks raining down from above his head. Neji moved to the side and dodged 5 large rocks dropping into the space he once occupied. They were large enough to almost boulders. Again, he had not seen his opponent do so, which he found strange. Was this a technique Uzumaki could use without hand seals or was he fast enough to be seen? And he noticed that it was stones, so that meant an affinity with earth. Interesting. Then, he watched as 4 clones approached him, running swiftly to him with kunai in their hands. Neji waited for them and swiftly defeating them without much of a sweat. He couldn't help but to snort derisively at this. "This is your plan, Naruto? To throw clone after me? Why don't you try something else? All you're doing is wasting time." Neji however could not reach fast enough to Naruto's next attack as a clone, or the real Naruto himself jumped out of the ground with a fist, uppercutting him in his chin. Neji heard the crunch in his chin and he wailed in pain as he flew back. He then saw 4 other Narutos jump out the earth itself and slam their knees into his stomach. The Hyuga boy wheezed in pain. "He hits just as hard as Lee. He felt all of the clones hold his extremities as he attempted to move, but it was in vain. Naruto appeared at Neji's head and peered down at him. The blonde looked into the Hyuga's eyes and asked, "Didn't I tell you to take me seriously?" At that comment, the 4 Naruto clones started attacking Neji, slamming their fists into his face. The Hyuga wailed in pain, trying to squirm away from them, but find it impossible. The real Naruto, who stood over Neji, looked impassively at him. "My clones have glued themselves to the ground. You're not going to be moving anytime soon. We will see about that." Neji growled, "Maybe you should take me seriously." And then the clones were blown back by an invisible wave of chakra. The clones flew and exploded into clouds of white smoke, popping when they hit the ground. It was an experimental technique Neji had been working on for the past month. Much like he knew his clan had the ability to expel chakra from their tenketsu, Neji learned the ability didn't stop at their hands or feet. His opponent had been so busy talking and giving him a scary look that he didn't even guard himself. He saw the Jiken before and knew they could use their hands to expel chakra, but the idiot didn't count on him being able to expel them. Neji had relished in the surprised look Naruto had gave him before jumping back to his feet and speeding off to the now retreating Naruto. He closed the distance easily and slammed a powerful palm into his chest, spreading chakra through him to damage his internal organs. That would be enough to stop Naruto, he was sure. Much to his anger however, he hit nothing but a clone and watched it explode into smoke. He growled, wondering where the hell was the real Naruto while holding his now burning jaw. Now, things were to be taken seriously and Neji had little use for taunting the boy now. Not only was it not working like he wanted to, but he had almost lost to the urchin. "I swear he's not getting the drop on me again." Neji was feeling paranoia settle in as he scanned the field for Naruto Uzumaki. So far, his opponent had eluded him and has been sending clone after clone to him, never attacking him head-on himself. Much to Neji's horror, he couldn't tell which Naruto was the real one. Each one of the clones he had some time peering into their chakra systems with his Byakugan had exactly the same amount of chakra and the Naruto that was standing in front of him before had had the exact same amount of chakra that they had. His Kekai Genkai would do nothing to help him here except anticipate where they were coming. But he wondered something more horribly as a thought came on. Those clones they came out of the ground and he has already shown his earth affinity. What if he has the ability to travel underground? That made sense to him as he legitimately did not see the clone from the underground who popped him once in the chin coming. His eyes couldn't do much to help him. He couldn't scan the entire battlefield's grounds even if the Byakugan could see through it. His opponent could be hiding anywhere. Another horrifying thought came to his head and he wondered if Naruto could track him as well. Another thing that made sense because Naruto's clone knew exactly where he was and where to strike his chin. If that was the case, then that would make things more complicated and more a problem to deal with. He didn't know how many clones Naruto could make, but he seen how much chakra the guy had and it astounded him. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was not like the normal Bunshin no Jutsu where it made incorporeal, immovable clones that served as a distracting illusion instead of an actual attack. These clones were solid, could move, could attack, and could act for themselves without any sort of interference. Plus, they were an exact copy of their creators, down to their chakra levels. That could not take a small amount of chakra to make it all. That meant Naruto could have several clones who, if his theory was correct, travel underground while tracking his opponent and never have to show up to actually fight. Neji couldn't help but sober up. His once superior attitude towards the Uzumaki had dried up and he was feeling some sort of fear well up inside of him. Neji did not have a lot of tools to help him in this match and he doubted he could outlast his opponent. All he could really do was wait until Naruto came in and approached him, which was looking like more and more of a dumb idea to do, and his blonde-haired opponent was proving to be less and less dumb than he looked. Neji, for the first time in life in battle, didn't know what he could do to win. Which meant something he had only one option left. Neji sighed, swallowed his pride, and held a hand up. "Shiranui-san," he started addressing the proctor who was looking coolly in his direction. But before Neji could finish those words, he yelped as he was dragged underground by a pair of hands, his head being the only thing above the dirt. Naruto's black sandals came into picture and Neji watched a fist made of rock fly to his face. Darkness followed for Neji only after that. Naruto walked back, feeling strange as he walked back up to the fighter's booth, listening to the crowd's loud cheering, but barely registering it. That match was disappointing was the word for it, he supposed. Neji had really never been able to touch him at all in that fight. Like, really. Sure, he got his clones, but that was only because Naruto had allowed him to do so. Even when he thought he caught Neji before, all it took was switching with an underground clone, which he had created since the beginning of the match with Korami no Jutsu, and Neji was none the wiser. Then after the clone had been killed, Neji stood there, like a sitting duck. Naruto scratched his head. Victory was his, but Neji hadn't even put up much of a fight for him, surprisingly. Maybe all that worry about him for the past month was all for nothing, eh? Ah well, he was sure he'd done pretty well enough to impress the judges, Naruto was sure, and even if he didn't, he was going to the next round against whoever won the next fight. Naruto was sure he would be getting a newer match to show off some more of his skills. That, he could count on. Before the beginning of Naruto Uzumaki's match with Neji Hyuga, Sakura Haruno sat next to her part-time friend part-time rival for Sasuke Uchiha's affection, Ino Yamanaka, feeling somewhat anxious. It had been a month since the preliminaries, and both of them were at each other's throats literally. Now, both of them were sitting together at the stadium, waiting for their friends to come out and to cheer them on. She found herself feeling bored and lonely without the presence of her teammates. Sasuke, she could understand, and even missing Naruto although he was a headache felt normal these days. Of course, she would never voice that lest Naruto think she was starting to like him or something perverted like that. Boys. Not being in the tournament meant she didn't have much to do this month and she didn't see her team at all. No mission since Kakashi-sensei was devoting his time training Sasuke and Naruto was getting his training somewhere. Sakura really didn't know any of the details really of either of their training, and she admitted she was worried more so for Naruto than Sasuke, since Sasuke was getting training from Kakashi, and Sasuke-kun was already a fantastic shinobi anyway. She didn't like to admit it, but she was worried about Naruto. Hopefully, he was getting some good amount of training somewhere in the village. Sakura didn't know much about Neji Hyuga, but she knew that he was a strong shinobi. Much to her disgust when she saw it, Neji beat the hell out of his opposed cousin, Hinata Hyuga, in a pretty damned one-sided matchup. As much as Naruto annoyed her at times, she didn't want to see the blonde get beaten down like that. She hoped Naruto was smart enough to swallow his pride, quit when he had the chance, and not end up hurt. But being on Naruto's team for half a year, she was used to his habits and personality. He was stubborn, impulsive, hard-headed, and wouldn't give up without giving his opponents hell. It was stupid but admirable, and the way he cheered on Hinata in the last part of the Chunin exams was endearing. He didn't even know he made Hinata fight harder in that match, did he? He even promised to defeat Neji for her too. She liked that about Naruto. No matter what, he wouldn't bow down to fear or anything like that. That stubbornness was how he was, and Sakura was slowly starting to accept him for it. However, that stubbornness wouldn't help him in this match. She seen Neji in his match with Hinata. He was quick, powerful, and bright. Going up against Neji head-on, which Naruto was known to do so against his opponents, would be suicide. Some part of her wanted Naruto to believe that Naruto could kick Neji's ass, but a more logic side of her told her that this fight with Neji would be the end of Naruto's run in the Chunin exams. Still, just like how Naruto cheered for Hinata in her match against Neji, or even with him cheering when Sakura herself fought Ino, Sakura would be cheering for her teammate. Hey Sakura. Look, they're starting to come out now. Ino pointed to the fighters of the exams, excitement in her face and her voice. Ino grinned. There's Shikamaru. Looking as lazy and depressed as usual. God, would it kill him to be a little exuberant for once? Sakura perked up and watched for her teammate. She saw him and smiled a bit herself. And there's Naruto. She drank in his new appearance and looked a little surprised. Naruto was wearing a black jacket, black pants, and basically wearing something newer than his usual outfit. Personally, Sakura never understood why Naruto liked his orange and blue jacket so much. It was a horrible bright shade of orange and a terrible color for a ninja anyway. Admittedly, her ruby red blouse was pretty bright too, but still, much better than bright orange. Either way, she didn't bother voicing her opinion about it, especially when Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke-kun had already done so for her. Still, it looked good on Naruto. Perhaps Naruto was finally growing up. Beyond Naruto, she quickly noticed a problem with the arena. She seen how they came down to the arena in a line. Naruto walked behind Neji, Shikamaru walked behind the girl from the sand, and the puppet user walked behind Shino, but Sasuke-kun's opponent Gaara of Sunagakur was lagging behind everyone. Sasuke was not there, and it worried her. Ino voiced her worry first however. Where's Sasuke-kun at? He's supposed to be down there. Sakura shook her hair, muttered I don't know, and returned her vision to the arena. She had that nagging desire to throttle Kakashi-sensei in his throat when she saw him. If Kakashi-sensei somehow got Sasuke-kun disqualified because of his laziness, a few minutes of the announcer announcing the semi-finalists, it was declared the first match would be Naruto Uzumaki vs Neji Hyuga. Ino was with the rest of the crowd, vocally cheering, but Sakura said a small prayer for Naruto to herself. Good luck, Naruto. Ino must have saw her, because she ended up smiling in her direction. Hey, I think Naruto's got this. Don't worry. That knucklehead's got to kick that Neji's ass after what he did to Hinata, right? Sakura wasn't so convinced though, and Ino's tone of voice also hinted the same thing. Nevertheless, she smiled back. Right, she said to her rival friend, and turned her attention to the stadium's arena, where Naruto and Neji would be fighting for the next few minutes. After Naruto's match with Neji, MMMHMM, and Neji just MMMHMM, but Naruto just MMMHMMM, ha. Was the appropriate response from Sakura Haruno as both her and Ino fell into contemplative silence. Well, that match was sure, convincing, Sakura thought to herself as she pulled the jaw back up, as well her hanging tongue. She watched Naruto basically destroy Neji in the match, never once getting touched. Well, she cheered him on like Ino, quite honestly she believed it would come down to the wire, or even Naruto would lose. However, the universe decided that today, Naruto was to beat the guy who was arguably one of the strongest genin in the preliminaries from last month, and with elemental ninjutsu no less. She and Ino were looking like gaping fish out of water when they saw rocks fly towards Neji's head, and when clones started coming from underground, it was nothing short of amazing to her. According to what she learned from her books and in school, one learning their elemental affinity and mastering it took quite a while, maybe even years, but Naruto had managed to do so in 1 month. Who the hell was this new Naruto, and where did he come from? If Naruto could do all of that, she could only imagine how much Sasuke had grown over the month in terms of strength and speed as well. She had a feeling that both of her teammates were going to have green vests by the end of the day. She smiled. Ebisu had been to the Chunin exams many times in his career as a shinobi. Once as a genin, several times as a Chunin, but many times when he was a genin. Mostly as a spectator, but in the rare one he was a proctor himself. There had been only a few times he had seen a few matches end so quickly. He had counted how many minutes the match went on. It came up to 5 on his watch. It only took 4 minutes for Naruto to defeat Neji Hyuga in battle. Using the element of surprise and turning his opponent's arrogance against him, Naruto had seemed to do the impossible. Defeating one of the most strongest genin in the exams was no easy feat. And most of the crowd didn't know what to do. However, he heard some claps, applause. A yell here, a woo. Attaboy, Naruto. There. Pretty soon, the crowd came more to life and a polite round of applause began. Ebisu was one of the many who clapped too. And faces from his peers were delicious. Asuma looked gobsmacked with his jaw slacked and tongue hanging out. Kurenai looked similar, but after she recovered, Ebisu could make out a very small smile on her face. Perhaps she was grateful Naruto smacked literally some sense into Neji. After all, the Hyuga boy did almost kill her student last month. Ebisu personally enjoyed Gai's the sensei of Neji Hyuga's reaction after Neji's nasty beatdown by Naruto. Gai downright cheered that Naruto won. Ebisu himself kept smiling, very pleased with himself. This was all because of his doing. The reason why this happened was because of his teachings, not anyone else. Not even Kakashi. He gave himself a mental pat on the shoulder because he created that potentially dangerous earth release user down there. He did that. Naruto walked to the fighter's booth, the place he was assigned to stay in until he was called to fight. He found himself in a conversation with Shikamaru, who gave Naruto an amused smirk. Not bad, idiot. Seems like you aren't dead last anymore. Heh. Thanks. Earth release, huh. Not bad actually. I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, neither did Neji. In more than one way, Naruto thought to himself with a chuckle. So who's next? Sasuke versus that scary Gar guy. Shikamaru drawled, putting his hands on his head. But Sasuke hadn't shown up yet. You know they have every right to disqualify Sasuke, right? Naruto frowned but nodded nonetheless. The proctor had already went over the rules when they were lined up down, showing them off to the crowd. Each match had a 5-minute break in between. If one of the contestants did not show up in that period of time, they would be disqualified. He didn't know why Sasuke was still not here, and if he had any sort of inkling, it was more than likely Kakashi's fault, but he did know if Sasuke didn't show up soon, he would be knocked out of the tournament by default. I hope he comes soon. Naruto expressed with a slight sigh. Shikamaru shrugged. Hey, maybe. He didn't seem like he cared either way. Attention. Due to the decision made by the Hokage, the second match between Gaara of Sunagakur vs Sasuke Uchiha of Konohagakure will be moved to the 4th slot of the first round of the tournament. This announcement came to the claps and loud cheers of the audience. It seemed like a lot of people came here to see Sasuke and Gaara fight. The proctor, Genma, if Naruto remembered correctly, who was on the megaphone that almost couldn't be heard by the screaming crowd. Therefore, will Shino Aburam of Konohagakure and Kankuro of Sunagakur move to the arena? Due to the fighter's booth looming right over the stadium's arena, Naruto watched clearly as a figure in black, some Chunin in black flashed into existence, approached Genma, and apparently whisper something into his ear, because Genma started nodding a bit. Then after a few seconds and a final nod from the bandana-wearing proctor, Genma picked up his megaphone again. Attention. Another update has happened in our scheduled match. Kankuro of Sunagakur has forfeited his match with Shino Aburam of Konohagakure. The winner by the default is Shino Aburam. The crowd interrupted with boos and jeers. People started protested in shouts and screams. They didn't sound like they were happy. Genma patiently waited for a minute until the people settled down a little bit before announcing something again on his megaphone. The next scheduled match is Shikamaru Nara of Konohagakure vs Temari of Sunagakure. Both fighters have 5 minutes to make it to the arena. Thank you for your time. Well, it looks like your match is next. Knock her out, will ya, Shika? Shikamaru's lips moved to make a large frown. Hey, why the hell is my match next? Move my match last, not the guy who's late to this thing. What kind of favoritism crap is this? And why did that puppet guy come all the way here just to forfeit to his opponent without the match starting? Man, this sucks. Naruto shrugged at him this time, though happy that Sasuke had a chance to compete in the tournament. A ninja must be prepared for anything. That's one of the first lessons we learned back in the academy. Isn't that what a ninja is supposed to do instead of whining about things? Shut up, Naruto. Shikamaru glared at him. Naruto noted the lack of a witty response from the lazy-looking Nara. Naruto smirked in a small little victory and patted Shikamaru on his shoulder. Don't fret, guy. After all, you'll do fine in your match. You're going to kick that girl's butt. HMPH, yeah right. A female voice rang out, interrupting the conversation between the two Konoha shinobi. Temari walked past them as she taunted Shikamaru, giving a contemptuous glare towards the younger boys. You don't have a chance, Nara. I'll blow you away. DCH, troublesome. Why did you have to say that all out loud, Naruto? Shikamaru groaned. Now I'm going to have to work hard. What? You didn't plan to work hard at all? Naruto felt his eyebrow twitch in annoyance. Shikamaru grunted out a response. I plan to come from this unscathed. Maybe even quit after the first 10 minutes. Naruto was about to scream at the boy for not wanting to fight to best of his ability, but stopped, thought about it for a bit, and realized what Shikamaru was saying would probably get him much closer to becoming a Chunin. You know, maybe you're not as lazy as I thought. That's a good strategy. Huh? Asked Shikamaru, who, for once, stumped by Naruto of all people. What strategy? Naruto knowingly chuckled and patted his former classmate on the shoulder. Good luck, Shika. Shikamaru frowned more so out of Naruto leaving him confused than the nickname. Or even the too familiar pat on the shoulder. The only one who could confuse him like that was his own father, who was eons worldlier and smarter than him. However, when Proctor Genma Shiranui called for him and Temari to come down to the arena to begin their match, he opted to go, instead of paying Naruto's words any mind. Watching Shikamaru's match was interesting. Instead of being extremely fast like Naruto's had been, Shikamaru's match easily went past the supposed 10 minutes Shikamaru said he would participate in. Shikamaru and Temari's fight involved both of them not trying to get caught by anything the other person was attempting to do. Both of them played the mid to long range game and didn't want to get close to one another. Finally, due to some complex plan, Shikamaru created using nearby objects and the position of the sun to get to Temari from a long distance and to get his shadow to pin down hers, Shikamaru had the opponent in his hands. And then let her go, crying out he had nothing to hit her with, that he was running out of chakra and there was no point to keep trying since she was a more superior opponent. If Shikamaru wasn't just being a lazy ass, Naruto knew it had been the right decision for Shikamaru too. Even if he was just being lazy, no one else knew and it looked good on the Nara's part. Iruka-sensei was right. If you wanted to be a Chunin, you needed to know your limits and be responsible for not only yourself, but for a team you would be serving on. Out on the field, in the real world, doing risky decisions like fighting when you know you can't was not only stupid but costly. If you were fighting a superior enemy that you could defeat, that was great. If not, it was better to retreat. Why risk your life in a battle if your mission objective wasn't to die? And their mission for the Chunin exams was not to kill, or to die, or even to really win fights. Their mission at the Chunin exams was to get promoted, to show their skills, to show the judges they knew how to think and act like a Chunin. If anyone was going to be promoted here, it would be Shikamaru without any doubt. However, now that the match was over and the proctor was now calling for the Sasuke and Gaara match to start in 5 minutes, Naruto's earlier concerns came back full force. He was hoping Sasuke would show up. Where the hell is that guy? Kakashi-sensei is definitely to be blamed for this, I just know it. After 5 minutes, Genma made a new announcement. Attention. Due to tardiness from Sasuke Uchiha of Konohagakure, the winner of the match is Gaara of Sunagakure. That led to a lot of outcries, boos, and jeers from the crowd. Oh shit. Then the proctor announced the next match. Naruto Uzumaki of Konohagakure vs Temari of Sunagakure. To the arena in 5 minutes. Naruto reviewed his findings of Temari in his head for a brief moment. The girl from Suna was a wind release user and a pretty scary user too. If he got caught by one of her tornadoes, he was toasted. He also could not let her get any distance. That Tenten girl got a taste of that back in the preliminaries. Naruto had to get as closely as he could to the girl without getting thrown around like a rag doll. He could finish her off with Taijutsu. He had a gut feeling she relied too heavily on her fan and her wind attacks. Take the fan away from her and she would have to stick to fighting with her hands. He had an idea on how to make her get away from her fan. Of course, he had to be sneaky. And sneaky Naruto excelled in. As the proctor started to call for the match, Naruto made 2 clones underneath him underground as Temari herself opened her metal fan and prepared for combat. As the proctor moved away from them, Temari already tried blowing Naruto back with a wind release technique. Naruto had no time to actually dodge it and so, wisely performed Koremi with a clone underground. Not what he originally planned, but it was sure convenient that he had an easy switcheroo technique. Switching with clones always came in handy. As he received his clone's memories, watching the tornado decimate his clone, he performed a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and had the clone appear on top of his position as a decoy and to create more clones on ground. Ebisu had showed him that trick with his shadow clones. Naruto could, if he properly directed his chakra in the right way, make clones wherever the hell he wanted, adding another positive property to his beloved Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Next, Naruto decided to create a squad of 10 clones to act as more decoys for him while he found his way to Temari. He had a plan that if it worked would make short work of Temari. Watching Shikamaru's match with her made him realize that Temari hated any sort of close combat with her opponents and she made it her mission to get away to spam powerful wind release techniques. Every clone that popped, Naruto received its memories. One clone even gotten close enough to Temari to see her face. A creepy smile had been on her face as she swung her fan at the clone and killed him with a bit of her wind chakra.